Our story begins with a young man who clearly summoned an S-rank immortal witch, but she claimed he couldn't afford to maintain a demonic master of her level, and she turned her back on him to run into the arms of the young master from the Jade beast family. Upon hearing this, Luo Chen simply burst out laughing, a reaction no one expected. Before the immortal witch could even react, he took direct action and seized her soul within the summoner. He then cast away the witch's heart. For what use is a beast that betrays its own master? None at all, really. Everyone watching the grand summoning ceremony was left completely stunned by his ruthlessness. They wondered if Luo Chen had truly gone mad, as that was the rarest humanoid S-rank Jade beast in existence. The global supply is scarce, but what they don't know is that by obtaining the witch's heart, a rare material, he can revive the blazing flame angel. The Jade beast left to him by his mother, making him the only god-level summoner in the world, even during the 37th National Beast Tide invasion. He knew he had to stand firm at the rear, a move that would eventually shock Jade users across the globe. "You bastard, how dare you hurt my witch?" a voice cried out in a rage. It seemed Zhao Tianqi had already considered the immortal witch as his own personal prize. He couldn't help but scream at Luo Chen, though Zhao Jingchen secretly moved to hold him back. "Young man, I can understand that you want to vent your anger," the elder said calmly. He continued, noting that the witch's heart could regenerate anyway, eventually. "You can have it back in 10 years. For now, you can sign the contract with my son, right?" We see Zhao Tianqi stamp the transfer contract right in front of Luo Chen once again. A cold, mocking smile appeared at the corner of the young man's mouth. He had no interest in something with such a pathetic mindset, to be perfectly honest. "But when did I ever say I would sell it to you?" he asked, leaving the Zhao father and son utterly speechless. "How can you even think of buying?" he asked. "Buying a 5-star, S-rank immortal witch for a mere 33 million. We are talking about a 5-star, S-rank immortal witch, after all. Do you take me for some country bumpkin who has never seen the world?" Without another word, he opened the Jade Beast interface right then and there. He decided to broadcast every single one of the witch's attributes to everyone watching the grand summoning livestream. An S-rank Jade Beast, the immortal witch, was now on full display for the world to see. She was officially up for sale in the auction house, boasting 3 main combat skills plus double assistance. With a starting price of 33 million, he sincerely invited every global summoner to start the bidding. This sudden move left every single viewer watching the broadcast completely dumbfounded. It was truly hard to believe that he would actually put such a rare Jade beast up for public sale. He placed her directly in the auction house, just as everyone began to guess what astronomical price she might fetch. Suddenly, a buyer from the Arabian region made a dominant entrance into the chat. 40 million, they bid. Seeing this, Zhao Tianqi immediately began to grit his teeth in frustration. Previously, he had only managed to summon a first-class demonic master, hardly a comparison. It was clear that he was absolutely determined to get his hands on this rare immortal witch. However, he didn't quite dare to seek his revenge while the cameras were still rolling on the livestream. Instead, he was forced to turn a pleading gaze toward his father standing right beside him. Zhao Jingchen, no longer bothered to pretend to be kind, looked at Luo Chen with a dark, somber expression. "You could have used a friendship price of 33 million to do me a favor and earn my appreciation," the man noted. "I didn't expect a poor student like you to be quite so short-sighted," he added, which was a rather bold claim to make. "To offend a master beast tamer just to earn some stinking money," he sneered, clearly unimpressed by the boy's priorities. "And just how much is your appreciation worth?" Luo Chen countered, rather than listening to more of the man's empty nonsense. He suggested it would be far better to take a look at the latest offer from a new buyer instead. Zhao Jingchen was taken aback and immediately checked the system messages on the website to see what was happening. But as he scrolled, he saw several names that made his skin crawl and his scalp tingle with genuine unease. Cranwell, from the Sunlong Master family in the United States, had just placed a bid for 45 million. Then came Keynes, a prominent Phantom Beast scholar from the United Kingdom, who raised the price to 48 million. However, the most terrifying bidder of all was a buyer hailing from Northern Europe. The legendary figure known as Curse offered 55 million, adding a blunt comment telling all the poor people to get lost. "I don't even need the immortal witch," Curse wrote. "I simply admire young Luo Chen as a compatriot and want to support him." He went on to call Zhao an idiot for rejecting such gifts, suggesting he should just go to church and stay there. And after that, the chat was filled with a long series of censored words that we can only imagine the meaning of. The audience watching the live stream was left completely dumbfounded by this sudden turn of events. We should keep in mind that this man, Curse, is considered a red-level legend in their world. He once fought the prison beasts all by himself and earned the Savior's Medal awarded by 120 different countries. Luo Chen looked directly into the camera and gave a respectful, deep bow to his screen. "Thank you, Senior Curse," he said. "Even though I, Luo Chen, am currently just an apprentice beast tamer, I have already committed your favor to memory. In the future, I will certainly remember you, and I will reward you with great generosity." At those words, the veins on Zhao Jingchen's forehead looked ready to burst. However, when facing someone like Curse, he knew perfectly well that he was no match for him at all. He had no choice but to force himself to swallow his anger, especially as more and more tycoons began to notice the auction. Gritting his teeth, he finally brought this insane bidding war to an end with a staggering offer of 120 million. He even added a comment, thanking Senior Curse for his critiques, which was quite the humble turn, wasn't it? He claimed he was ready to answer the call and support the rise of the apprentice beast tamer. But at that very moment, a wave of exclamations erupted from the crowd. People were shocked that the immortal which had actually sold for such a sky-high price, but that wasn't all they were talking about. The air was also thick with mockery directed straight at Zhao Jingchen. Today, we see a true villain who knows exactly when to yield and when to stretch the truth. He strikes hard at the apprentice Luo Chen when he can, and then wags his tail to please a legendary master like Curse. To be honest, it's a bit pathetic. Deep down, the onlookers felt that Luo Chen needed to be on his guard in the future. A master of changing faces like this will surely seek revenge, 100%. Luo Chen's expression didn't change. He knew the hostility from Zhao and his son was just a necessary price for his plan. He had already gathered the 3 main materials needed to resurrect the angel sister. However, he realized he would still need some time to properly raise the angel. Just as he was about to turn around and leave the scene, he heard Zhao Jingchen's grim voice transmitting from behind him. The man hissed that the immortal, which was only worth 50 million at most. "You've made me lose a massive sum of extra money," the voice growled. "I will definitely make sure you die a horrible death." Luo Chen's lips curled into a slight smile, and he didn't even look back. Zhao Jingchen was left utterly stunned in that moment. He couldn't understand why the young man wasn't terrified enough to wet himself, and he understood even less what Luo Chen's reaction was supposed to mean. It wasn't until that night that the bewildered Zhao Jingchen finally received his answer. A trending topic had already exploded across the entire network, skyrocketing to the top of every major news site in Ronghua. Luo Chen announced that he would be live-streaming the resurrection of the angel Lakke that very night. As soon as the news broke, the entire internet was sent into a state of absolute shock. We must remember that 7 years ago, a level extinction prison beast invaded the 37th country. When the news reached his parents, they rushed to the battlefield with grim resolve, saving the trapped citizens at the cost of their own lives, while the infinite prison beast, Angel Lack, used her final strength to teleport the young Luo Chen to safety. But in doing so, she herself fell into an eternal, frozen sleep. For those living under the long shadow of prison beast attacks, the Angel Lack is seen as nothing less than a goddess. Meanwhile, we find Zhao Tianqi at a local bar, looking quite comfortable. He was holding an enchanting witch, cursing that bastard Luo Chen for using him and his father to generate hype for the Great Compendium. The witch, Alice, laughed softly, her delicate face radiating a dangerous sort of charm. She asked her master why he would bother getting angry at such short-sighted people. She reminded him that once he raised her to level 50, her charm ability would evolve into full mind control. By then, she could hide in a corner and, without anyone ever knowing, turn Luo Chen into a mindless puppet. She promised to order him to return every single one of his lucky encounters without fail. And after that, he would become his slave, obeying his every command with blind devotion. The witch was exaggerating her abilities just a little bit. She was tempting Zhao Tianqi to increase his investment in her, and hearing this, he was filled with absolute joy. Deep down, he felt that buying this particular prison beast had been entirely worth it. But just then, a breaking news report interrupted the television broadcast in the bar. It was a new breakthrough in beast research. The top student of the Gaokao, Luo Chen, would be live-streaming the resurrection of an S-rank prison beast, the Angel Lack. The broadcast announced it for 8 p.m. tonight, leaving the patrons wondering if they had heard correctly. Could he really resurrect the most loyal beast in history? She is, after all, the guardian every prison beast master dreams of having. The crowd remarked that it was no wonder he was the top student of the Gaokao. One man lamented that if he had the loyal Lack as his sole beast, he wouldn't have been abandoned the moment he summoned a witch for help. His friend quickly shushed him, warning him to speak quietly, so Zhao Tianqi wouldn't overhear. As the whispers of the crowd reached him, Zhao Tianqi's face turned as dark as the bottom of a charred pot. He looked as though he wanted to pick up a knife and cut someone to the bone. Instead, he simply raised his hand and called out to the bartender to tune the TV to Luo Chen's live stream. He told himself he wanted to witness the young man's public embarrassment with his own eyes. The screen flickered, and suddenly, Luo Chen's live room on the Dukhan platform appeared before everyone. Zhao Tianqi and his friends stared in disbelief at an underground laboratory that could only be described as luxurious. One of them gasped, noticing the room was completely stacked and inlaid with biblical stone. He mentioned that his family runs a construction company, so he knew exactly what he was looking at. By his estimate, those 4 walls alone would cost at least 40 million, a staggering sum, to be sure. It seems Luo Chen isn't a poor ghost after all, but a hidden tycoon. Quite a shock for those who heard he lived solely on scholarships. A dangerous smile plays on Luo Chen's lips as he welcomes everyone, promising to stream the daily life and cultivation of his S-rank angel. Tonight's main event, he claims, is a free lesson on invaluable knowledge, how to resurrect an angel prison beast, sending the chat into a frenzy. Amidst the insults and accusations of using the angel lack for clout, he simply smiles, pointing toward the room filled with biblical stones. He makes a bold wager. If the ritual fails, he will donate those 40 million worth of stones to the viewers following the stream. After requesting official certification from the platform, his follower count explodes to 1.8 million in a mere 10 seconds. Impressive, to say the least. Meanwhile, Zhao Tianqi's face turns dark again. He never expected the boy to become a major internet celebrity with millions of followers so quickly. Even the Zhao family couldn't easily target such a public figure, especially if he becomes the top streamer that the platform would fight to protect. We should note that Duken Live is backed by the Purgatory Phoenix family, a clan possessing the heritage of the immortal Purgatory Phoenix itself. Zhao Tianqi has enough brains to realize that if Luo Chun becomes their star, even his own father wouldn't dare provoke the platform's backers. Duken is an investment by the Phoenix family's president, Huang Qinshan, who has been struggling to beat rival platforms in the national market. If Luo Chun can save the platform's traffic, he will surely earn Huang Qinshan's gratitude, and as the saying goes, he is fishing for a big catch. Soon, a message arrives from an administrator with the ID, Huang Lijutian, telling him not to be reckless with such expensive giveaways. To our surprise, this person is actually Huang Qinshan himself, watching the stream from the comfort of his office at the Duken headquarters. Inside the Duken Live CEO building, Huang Qinshan stares at his phone, finding it absolutely incredible that the boy has achieved so much so fast. In just 6 minutes, the stream brought in 2 million live viewers of fresh traffic, making the president feel as though Luo Chun is his lucky star. He patiently offers some advice, telling little brother Luo Chun that the platform doesn't scam its own and suggesting he shouldn't promise too much. He suggests that if the resurrection fails, those biblical stones could still be sold on second-hand platforms to recover some of the massive costs. Luo Chun looks at his phone and exhales deeply. The phoenix has finally bitten the hook, so he smiles at the camera and thanks his sister for the advice. He swears on his name as a beast tamer that if he fails, the stones will be raffled off, and now, it is finally time to reveal the mystery. The Crimson Angel accompanies Huang Qinshan and all the viewers as they take a collective breath, the idea of a high school student. Reviving an angel seems like a total joke, but when 40 million worth of biblical stones are placed on the table, everyone falters. First, he pulls from the drawer a stack of certificates, expert in beast changing, expert in beast grinding, and expert in beast enhancement. As the covers are opened, Luo Chen's photo is reflected in everyone's eyes. This high schooler has already obtained expert certification in 3 domains of beast taming. It seems the perfect score champion of the 5 ancient subjects is no mere legend. Next, he produces a large pile of printed and bound documents, all his anonymous articles, published in authoritative academic journals regarding angel beast taming and resurrection skills. The quantum entanglement between the sacred attribute and the angelic line is research that combines science and new age beast taming. In the live stream, everyone feels dazzled and perhaps a bit incomparably shocked by him. He slowly takes out 3 materials and places them on the table. Now, it is time to witness the descent of a miracle. Epic level angel wings, an epic level heart of favor, and a legendary level witch's heart. When these 3 items appear, all doubts in the stream vanish. The knowledgeable viewers begin to discuss the resurrection ritual heatedly, and their interest is finally fully ignited. At 8:03, an executive walks hurriedly into Huang Qinshan's office to report that the number of people online in the stream has surpassed 4 million and is still rising. The data department estimates it will peak in an hour and likely exceed 10 million. Huang Qinshan curls the corners of his mouth at the news, though he immediately restores his cold gaze. He orders the immediate preparation of a commemorative sterling silver trophy for a 1,000,000-level stream and a unique pure gold trophy for a 10 million level stream, believing they will be needed within days. The executive suggests preparing a high salary contract while Luo Chun is still a rookie, to sign him to a long-term deal. Huang Qinshan neither agrees nor disagrees. After all, a genius of beast resurrection cannot be tied down with a simple contract. By 8:05, everything is ready. He has already processed the 3 main materials, and now he brings out an extremely important item. Reliquary. We should know that all angel and human-type beasts transform into reliquaries after an unnatural death, storing their souls within. He extends a fingertip and lightly touches the reliquary. An array of holy light scatters over the world. Amidst the crowd's exclamations, he lifts it tremulously. This is the essence of the angel material, inserted into the reliquary. Without hesitation, and while explaining the method to revive the angel, he notes that the soul of the beast can adhere to a flesh and blood body to exist for a long time. The essence of the angel is a blank phrase of angelic melody, but soul transfer is not something that can be completed casually. He explains that it is much like a human organ transplant, where a strong rejection reaction can occur. For 7 years, he has prepared for this moment. We watch as he invites the viewers to witness the return of Sister Law, as he inserts the witch's heart into the angel's physical vessel. As we know, humanoid beasts of the witch clan possess 3 hearts compatible with most humanoid types, effectively acting as a second health bar. This also permanently increases the life limit by 100. 7 years ago, Sister LA's first health bar completely collapsed while she was protecting him. To prevent her health from failing again after the resurrection, he prepared this second bar. The viewers listen, captivated by his exhaustive and detailed explanation. The audience seems stunned by the sheer depth of his knowledge, as the data on the screen reflects a situation that is becoming increasingly complex and intense. The atmosphere in the stream is thick with anticipation as the history of these ancient centers begins to unfold before our very eyes. He recalls that he had never truly reasoned through this intolerance until this very moment, indicating that he is not entirely at ease either. The imagery of flowers appears as he notes that he doesn't fully understand the timing, but in the office, he has done everything within his power. The rest depends on luck. Even if the plan to revive her fails, Luo Chen remains confident in his ultimate victory, flashing a repetitive smile. He then drops onto the sofa as a deadly poison begins to contaminate his veins, turning his face a sickly, zombie-like shade of green. The viewers' hearts leap into their throats as they frantically call for a doctor to dispel the poison and rescue our host. Huang Qinshan even uses his executive privileges to spam the chat, identifying himself as the president of the Dusun platform to make an offer. He offers a staggering 150 million annual signing fee and confirms that 2 medical teams are already racing toward Luo Chen's building. Luo Chen can't help but touch his nose, caught between laughter and tears. He never said he was ending his life or that the plan had failed. He mentions having other desires in life as he pulls a pill from his pocket. Once the detoxification is complete, the viewers finally breathe again. But a moment later, the walls covered in biblical verses turn to dust, transforming into a surge of holy energy within a blinding light. The angel shell he crafted with his own hands emerges from the white light, wings spread wide, possessing a perfect and flawless sacred body. A soft voice, tinged with deep sorrow, reaches him through the torrent of time, asking Luo Chen how long it has been since they last met. The viewers are desperate to see the angel's true face, but the dazzling holy light blurs their vision, leaving them wondering who she truly is. She asks if he is related to her 200% substrate, wondering where her Luo Chen went, while warning him not to invoke the Archangel's sword. 7 years have passed, and she has grown. The emotional reunion is shattered in an instant, leaving the viewers in the live stream filled with fantasies about this very interesting relationship between a jade beast and a human. A little later, the image in the stream is restored, and we see Luo Chen sitting before the camera again, while Miss La gazes longingly from behind him. Her iconic 4 wings of light remain, making her look particularly sacred. Everyone agrees that Luo Chen has more luck than life now that the experimental angel has been successfully resurrected. He announces that as a mental jade beast master, he will take Miss La, a national treasure-level beast, to conquer the beginner dungeon. His goal is to break the world record and obtain an epic-making miracle reward for his sister, so he asks the audience to keep their eyes on the stream. He even suggests that if they could donate some funds for the dungeon strategy, it would be even better, and then Luo Chen offers his thanks. We see him press his hands together toward the camera, a somewhat bitter smile appearing on his face. He explains to everyone that in order to bring La back to life, he has had to make quite a few sacrifices. Deep down, he knows he has exhausted every single resource he had accumulated over the years. He admits that in the coming days, he is afraid he will have to survive on nothing but bran and vegetables. As it turns out, the effect of crying poverty is excellent, proving that he knows his audience quite well. The live stream now has a total of 17 million people watching simultaneously, which is a staggering number by any standard. Among them, naturally, there is no shortage of local tycoons ready to open their wallets. Donations instantly flood the entire platform, creating a spectacle of digital support for his cause. However, some onlookers think he is foolish, believing that while Luo Chen is a genius, he doesn't understand the first thing about being a streamer. They argue that asking the audience for rewards will only consume the goodwill he has managed to build up. To them, he is nothing more than an internet beggar, a harsh judgment, to be sure. Back at the bar, Zhao Tianqi finally feels a small sense of superiority returning to him as he watches the screen. Meanwhile, the immortal witch Alice feels a complex mixture of emotions, caught between a growing sense of jealousy and deep regret. If she had only known that Luo Chen could revive beasts, she would have been willing to offer him 1,000 points of loyalty. But deep down, she was painfully aware that there was no turning back now. The only thing left for her to do was to look with disdain at Zhao Tianqi's smug, bloated face. He tells her the master is right, claiming that Luo Chen is, after all, nothing more than a small-time commoner. Short-sighted and simply embarrassing, he says, and she agrees that it was well-spoken. When the beginner dungeon opens in 2 days, they believe it will finally be the moment of truth. He reminds her that he still has the advanced potion his father gave him. With that and all the equipment he bought for her, he is certain they will crush Luo Chen with ease. But just as the two of them were busy looking down on Luo Chun, the laughter and joy in the bar suddenly froze as if time itself had stopped. To be honest, the shift was quite jarring, and we see every customer in the bar staring at Luo Chen's live stream with a sense of profound envy. A massive donation alert suddenly appeared right in the center of the broadcast screen, and its impact on everyone watching was no less than that of a nuclear explosion. The user behind the reward was none other than the legendary Dragon Slayer. He donated $10 million in cash and sent a voice message simply saying, "Hello, Mr. Luo Chun." He makes a sincere request, hoping that Luo Chun can design a resurrection plan for his beloved daughter. She is, as it turns out, a beautiful sacred firefly dragon. He mentions he is willing to pay a deposit of $50 million right away. Furthermore, he believes that Alak could use some better equipment for the journey ahead. He offers to immediately send over a god-slaying spear of demigod rank, which, naturally, changes everything. The bar was suddenly filled with the sound of gasping at the sight of a $50 million deposit and the gift of a demigod artifact. Envy burned in every heart, and in that single instant, all of Zhao Tianqi's sense of superiority simply vanished. In its place, he felt a deep sense of panic. He had originally assumed that Luo Chen's prospects were quite small. He told himself that while Luo Chun had luckily revived Alak, he would only ever make a living through live streaming. But now, it seems he was wrong. Luo Chun has mastered a massive business opportunity with terrifying profits, one that simply cannot be copied or replicated. We must remember that in this era of global beast taming, countless creatures are fighting bloody battles to defend our cities. The number of tamed beasts that die in battle every year is, quite frankly, beyond counting. And after all, human hearts are made of flesh and blood. There are so many beast tamers out there who would be willing to bankrupt themselves, just to revive the close comrades who once fought right by their side. One young man, who had just been toasting with Zhao Tianqi, suddenly saw his expression change completely. He hurried to raise his hand and pull the person next to him aside, whispering that they had made a terrible mistake. Their family had chosen the wrong side. After all, that donor is the legendary dragon slayer, Nianxia. If Luo Chun can truly revive that sacred firefly dragon, he will surely use this opportunity to soar to unimaginable heights. Zhao Tianqi shuddered instinctively, his face a mask of pure horror. But as it turns out, the matter was far from over. Another distinguished user appeared. The user known as Death Curse rewarded him with $10 million in cash, addressing him simply as Friend Luo Chun. He explained he didn't wish to flaunt his wealth, but he also had an old companion named Yan, a mutant species thunder eagle. Yan had died 50 years ago while protecting him, a long time to carry such a weight, to be sure. He expressed his hope that Luo Chun could help him resurrect his friend, followed by another request from the prized user Sabuki. A cash reward of 10 million dragon coins followed, addressed simply to the student Luo Chun. The sender explained he was from the Guardian Beastmasters Guild of the Dragon Kingdom. He was, in fact, one of the permanent vice presidents of that very organization. He inquired about the technique for resurrecting guardian beasts, asking if it was patented and expressing his sincere willingness to help him navigate the process. By the way, he mentioned he had been an active marshal on the front lines in the state of Connecticut. He had also been the best friend of Luo Chen's parents, who had tragically died from burns and injuries. Later, his own natal guardian beast died in battle, forcing him to take an administrative position. His guardian beast was a fallen angel, and as he spoke, the pop-up notifications just kept appearing. Luo Chen quickly made a gesture to stop the flood of messages. He asked them to please have patience, insisting they shouldn't see him as an almighty savior who could resurrect anything. He reminded them of the scene they had witnessed, noting that the plan to revive Rococo took 17 years of his life. He had sacrificed all his assets and nearly his life. There simply isn't a second copy of this method in the world. Upon hearing this, everyone fell into a heavy, contemplative silence. They remembered how he had taken on the entire resurrection process, struggling between life and death. Zeus smiled bitterly, realizing that it might be impossible to stop the loss. Sabuki sighed, but just as the three of them seemed utterly dejected, they heard Luo Chen speak quite lightly. He told them that since the three of them placed so much trust in him, he would accept the requests of these three elders, which was a bold move, to be sure. Zeus and the others remained in the house, stunned by what they heard, their faces immediately lighting up with joy. However, Luo Chen solemnly declared that his research into the resurrection of guardian beasts was still quite limited. Aside from these three elders, he wouldn't be accepting any more requests for the time being. After all, we see that he still had the main event of the university entrance exam for Beast Masters ahead of him. The practical portion of the exam was waiting for him, and he couldn't afford to be distracted. Having said his piece, he bowed once more to express his gratitude for all the generous donations. Then, with a certain quiet elegance, he brought the live stream to an end. Yet, the wave of excitement didn't simply vanish. The enthusiasm across the internet showed no signs of fading. The major media outlets were quick to do the math, calculating the total value of the rewards received. People were stunned to discover that his debut stream had raised a staggering $260 million in rewards. Not a bad day's work. On top of that, Won Kim-chun had promised a signing fee of 150 million. Including the resurrection deposits from the three big bosses, his income that night exceeded 1 billion dragon coins. Back in the old basement, Luo Chun took Rococo's hand and looked around at their humble surroundings. He told his siblings it was time to leave the old building where they had lived for nearly 20 years. Once the news of Rococo's resurrection spread, he knew that countless powerful figures would surely come flocking to them. After all, while righteous men like Zeus still exist, they are rare in a society where the strong rule. Most high-ranking beast masters, to be honest, no longer consider the law to be their top priority. He feared that one day he might be targeted by someone with less than noble intentions. Imagine the danger, being locked away just so someone could force him to study a resurrection plan. Rococo nodded in agreement, as she still held the complete, harrowing memories of the resurrection process. As the Archangel of Flame, she was also well aware of the power struggles and the many dangers of the world. She told him that once she reaches level 100 and ascends to a demigod-level beast, they could reclaim their honor. "Let's go, Chun," she said softly. "Wherever you are, that is my home." With that, she walked toward the luggage, and with a light touch of her hands, she lifted every single bag and bundle. It was Luo Chin's turn to be left speechless, though he knew that with their 200% bond, Coco could easily handle the weight. Still, it wasn't as if being level 1 made her a great king just yet, at least, not in theory. We see that these old industries and memories were on the verge of collapsing entirely. She explained that since she was born with all her past memories and glory, her previous medals were still valid. She then showed him 2 medals. The Defender's Medal, awarded to King de Chuanxi on July 17, 231. The 9th Special Armored Squad had fought a bloody battle for 72 hours straight. Thanks to them, the city of Chuanxi was never taken by the relentless tide of beasts. For this, a collective third-degree merit was awarded to the soldiers involved. This provided a boost of +10 to all attributes, a helpful little bonus, to be sure. The second was the Fabric Diffuser Medal, honoring her outstanding contribution to the defense of Zhanghe on May 4, 200. She had earned first-degree individual merit there, which significantly enhanced her attack power. This added another 50 points to all attributes as she gently caressed the 2 medals. As she immersed herself in those memories, many bold new directions for their future instantly came to mind. It was truly impressive, a total of 60 points across all attributes, plus an extra 50. This was equivalent to an ordinary beast reaching level 24 through extra points alone. Hearing about this hidden advantage, we see that Coco already possessed potential far exceeding that of her previous life. And so, a little later, he drove away in a truck rented from a local transport company. He bypassed the surveillance and arrived at another street in the old town. He took out the key and opened the security door of their new residence. The AK couldn't help but widen her eyes in surprise. It was such an advanced lock, not using fingerprints or iris scans, but something far more traditional. She wondered if it was truly safe to live here, especially since the beast tide had intensified in recent years. It was common knowledge, after all, that housing prices in such areas had completely plummeted. He explained that he had prepared several places like this, so they could move if any trouble arose. As they spoke, the 2 of them entered the house one after the other. After setting down the luggage, the AK summoned the Archangel's sword. We see the holy light descend, supposedly to dispel all evil and filth from the entire home. In reality, every cockroach, ant, and mosquito was instantly purged and burned to ashes by the sacred flame. Even the dust and household trash were completely purified in the process. Holy light is certainly convenient, as we observe the now pristine and spotless residence. Looking at the clean house, he couldn't help but reflect on how taming beasts truly changes one's life. Next, she decided to put her level 10 sanctuary cooking skill to good use. She prepared a hearty meat soup for him, and he honestly couldn't wait to enjoy it. A second later, a notification window popped up on his status panel. It informed him that by consuming the sacred attribute bloody meat soup, he had gained a special buff. He received a 1% bonus to holy damage. Then, feeling satisfied, he stretched and opened a notebook. He then showed Lack the notes Fei Yin had written regarding the research on the rookie dungeon. How safe was it? After 700 simulations, the success rate sat at 96.82% because the most crucial link was already complete. And what was that link? Money, as it turned out, and right as he spoke, his phone buzzed. It was a friendly withdrawal reminder from the bank address to Mr. Luo Chun. His account, ending in the digits 8848, had just received a staggering 130 million in cash. The sender was listed as Dusun Life Company, Ltd. Immediately afterward, he received a video call from Won Kim-chun. She greeted him warmly, asking if he was satisfied with the sincerity she had shown him in private. To prove their good faith, Dusun Life hadn't even deducted the Avatar commission. After the necessary taxes were settled, the entire remaining amount had been transferred directly to him. At the same time, she mentioned that the originally agreed-upon signing fee of 150 million was still negotiable. But he simply shook his head slightly, telling her it wasn't necessary. He was fine with that price. However, he did have one small additional condition. He hoped that Mr. Wan could publicly issue a formal statement of protection, one that would make her responsible for his personal safety and that of his sister, Lack. She noted that this was an easy matter, realizing he was after her family's significant influence. Wan Qingchun pursed her lips, feeling a slight, lingering sense of frustration in her heart. She had imagined this young genius chose Dusan because of her own talent. To be honest, even if he had chosen them for her beauty, she would have been fine with that. In the end, this usually distant and composed president could only let out a soft sigh. Well then, what exactly is happening here? What is going on? What is happening? 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 We see beasts in Zonghai, where they have always maintained a rigorous school style. Don't bring your Beijing-style tricks here, Zhao Tianqi muttered as he grit his teeth. He didn't dare to respond, after all, which was probably the wisest choice. We learned that Suzong Yuan's Yamlong district in Anqi City holds a truly far-reaching influence. The terrifying aura of the SSS-level dragon beast surged, leaving his immortal witch trembling like a leaf. Alright, please gather all the seniors on the playground to choose between 3 dungeon copies. Suzong Yuan made a simple gesture, and 3 glowing crystal portals appeared out of thin air. Dungeon 1, protecting the mountains and rivers, where the beast invasion is brought back to life. This particular dungeon serves as a lesson in patriotic historical education. The main theme is to allow students to experience firsthand the tragic history of the beast invasion of 2077. It is a chance to learn the spirit of dedication to the motherland from the martyrs of the past. Then we have Dungeon 2, the Battle of Black Queen Ryan, another brutal beast invasion. This particular instance serves as an early battlefield experience, recreating the experiments and the chaos of that specific conflict. The primary goal here is to force the students to face the sheer horror of the beast tied directly. It is all about honing their actual combat skills in a high-pressure environment. Finally, Dungeon 3, the Trial City of Flesh and Blood in southern Xinjiang. This copy is designed for patriotic historical education as well. The theme allows students to immerse themselves in the border war and learn the sense of mission held by Longwo warriors. Zhao Tianqi immediately shouted that since Luo Chen didn't dare to bet money, they should bet on their glory instead. Whoever fails to match the other's evaluation must kneel, bow 3 times, and slap their own face. More than 10 times, in fact. Luo Chen simply made a face at the absurdity of it all. He found the whole thing incredibly childish, wondering if such an impulsive dispute was even useful. To be honest, he saw his opponent as nothing more than a foolish second-generation heir, a man who speaks and acts without a single thought. Meanwhile, Alice the Witch watched on. She looked between her former master and her new one with a deeply complicated expression. Remorse began to swell in her chest, ever since she saw Luo Chun making a fortune on his livestream. After seeing him frantically build connections and prestige, the truth had become painfully clear to her. She had chosen the wrong beastmaster, and that, as it turns out, was a very costly mistake. Overcome with shame and anger, Zhao Tianqi simply turned around and walked away. Oh, don't go just yet. Who said we wouldn't take the bet? Luo Chun was being purely cunning. Since his opponent was so eager to hand over his wealth, it would be a shame not to accept. Let's do it. You bet 10 million, and I'll bet 1 million. Come and sign a fair contract. Zhao Tianqi stood there stunned, instinctively looking toward the old director, Su Zongjian, for guidance. But the old man turned his head away decisively, looking instead at the class leaders standing beside him. Oh my tinnitus has been acting up lately, and I'm having such trouble hearing. I can't hear a thing. You all make sure to take good care of the students now. He walked away without a single backward glance. What a clever, slippery old man he turned out to be. Zhao Tianqi cursed his hypocrisy in his heart, yet he still needed this duel to prove his strength to the public. Fine, I accept. After all, 10 million is nothing more than pocket change to me. Luo Chen simply shrugged his shoulders. Thank you for your patronage. Soon after, we see them head into the simulations, one where the country is shattered and demonic beasts invade the mountains. Meanwhile, Zhao Tianqi stepped contemptuously into the dark demon invasion, fighting a bloody battle amidst a black storm. Luo Chen wasn't surprised at all. He explained to Luo Ku that since the immortal which is of the dark attribute, that dungeon is her ideal environment. Furthermore, it is said that Zhao Tianqi possesses the rare talent of the Beast Exchange Heart. And as it happens, the monsters in that particular dungeon are primarily the Beast Exchange type. Luo Ku laughed, flashing a grin and giving Luo Chen a high five to celebrate their impending victory. He was about to win another 10 million. To them, Zhao Tianqi was becoming quite the lucky star. Yes, whenever I see Zhao Tianqi, I feel just as happy as when I look at my bank account balance. Luo Chen sighed. He might be unpleasant to talk to, but he certainly was a consistent source of experience in gold. First, there was that auction fee of 120 million, and now, a second bet of 10 million. Immediately after, we see Luo Chun enter the novice dungeon and connect to the beast taming panel for the very first time. After 48 hours of intense promotion in the Golden City, Luo Qin's bold claims about breaking the novice dungeon record have taken over the Dowson livestream platform. By now, his words are known worldwide. Besides, he has recently gained quite a bit of a reputation. He is the top student in every field and the presumed future champion of the Gaokao. The founder of the Resurrection Discipline, the tamer of the great star Luo Qi, the man favored by the Amor and Phoenix family, and so on and so forth. Naturally, as soon as Luo Qin checked the background data, he had to take a very deep breath. He couldn't believe it. There were actually over 21 million viewers waiting online for his broadcast to begin. The word on the street is that he intends to break Chen Fun's 23-year-old record in this dungeon. It's an arrogant claim, to be sure. Many people online are saying he's just a top student who only knows how to show off. They are inviting everyone to watch him make a fool of himself, asking where the Angel Lack experiment has gone. His fans and netizens from all over have gathered, each watching for their own reasons. Aware of their mixed intentions, Luo Qin simply gave a calm nod to his audience. In short, he thanked everyone for their support, regardless of why they were there. He promised them an experience they wouldn't forget, an unparalleled live-streamed spectacle of slaughter. Welcome to the country is shattered, but the mountains and rivers remain. The magical beast invasion dungeon was now officially open for the beginners. As the historical dungeon loaded, we are welcomed to the very birthplace of the magical beast invasion. The scene introduces us to Hinchuan City in 2017, a time when humanity, fueled by a technological explosion, was trying to leave Blue Star. They dreamed of moving beyond fame on their own planet to becoming famous throughout the entire universe. But unfortunately, as we all know, the vast universe is home to many terrible threats. Once the coordinates of Blue Star were exposed, everything changed. Countless strange portals began to appear all across our planet. From that moment on, a period of 200 years began. Even now, the mere mention of the beast nest's arrival is enough to make all of humanity tremble. Back then, there were only a few weak beast tamers among the human population. They were still trying to resist the magical beasts using nothing but firearms. But unfortunately, the magical beasts invading Hinchuan City were not so easily stopped. They possessed repellent metallic scales that made them completely immune to bullets. And as for the higher-ranking elite magical beasts, their scales were also immune to shockwaves, meaning they had no reason to fear heavy projectiles. The Dragon Kingdom was about to face its darkest hour. Chapter 17. Please, let the mayor resign and make way for someone more capable regarding the magical beast invasion incident. Every citizen of the Dragon Kingdom knows this by heart from history class. It's as familiar as the old era's Gold Rebellion. Luo Qin calmly gave the command to display the dungeon's victory conditions. The conditions were simple: defeat all invading magical beasts or survive for the duration. That meant 24 hours of real time, or 7 days within the dungeon itself. This particular dungeon is actually a bonus challenge designed for beginners. It is protected by the official government of the Dragon Kingdom, so there is no risk of actual death. However, if you do die, the dungeon ends immediately and you simply reappear at the entrance. It calculates the score and the evaluation. Luo Qin took a quick look to confirm the dungeon details. Everything was as usual, without any difference, and then he began to broadcast his first-person perspective. He was marching with a firm step toward the Hinchuan City Hall, a bold move, indeed. When he took the Gaokao back then, it was also a copy of "The country is broken, the mountains and rivers remain," according to the standard answer. He told himself that he shouldn't be climbing the city walls to deploy the defense just yet. He decided not to follow the usual path. Being a basic-level streamer, he finally had some expectations, which was interesting. And here we see the chat buzzing. Alright, brothers, there's a new stream called Zhao Tianqi. He had started broadcasting on TW1, TCH, it seemed. On the dungeon's streaming platform, the world's #1 form of broadcasting, he was showing off a betting certificate. He intended to compete with our little Luo Qin in speed. Luo Qin soon found out through the comments, but the Gaokao is a grand event. He didn't quite understand the desire for rebirth, and since he couldn't attract traffic otherwise, Zhao Tianqi took the path of black and red fame, trying to use his own infamy to generate heat. An opportunist, he launched a bad review against the wise. Guiyu revealed the other's true purpose. It's no wonder he had been shamelessly begging to place a bet with him today. The performance was interesting, but not the best. To be honest, it felt a bit forced, and Luo Qin shook his head with a smile. Famous people have many problems, he thought. If he wants to take advantage, let him come, though he feared the backlash of black and red traffic. He might not be able to handle it. While nearby, Zhao Tianqi clenched his fists with serious intent. He pleaded for likes, asking the audience to help him surpass Luo Qin, whom he called a hypocritical villain. Step on him first, he urged, telling them they didn't need to ask more about his dispute with the man. He gave a uniform response, ever since his father auctioned off the immortal which he had summoned. He claimed that Luo Qin hated him intensely, repeatedly provoking and threatening him until he simply couldn't take it anymore. There was no longer any need for restraint. He had already wagered both money and glory within this rookie dungeon. He sought a decisive battle, asking the audience to witness exactly how he would tear Luo Chen down from his altar. Zhao Tianqi was desperate for money, especially since he had spent a staggering 120 million to auction off that immortal witch. His father, Zhao Jinchun, had already cut off his allowance, choosing instead to provide him with basic equipment. Zhao Tianqi felt too ashamed to ask for potions. After all, purchasing the witch had been an astronomical expense. His father had already done everything possible for his son, leaving Zhao Tianqi with very few options left. But watching Luo Chen's live stream, he felt a surge of jealousy toward his fame and fortune, which sparked a sudden inspiration. He told himself that if Luo Chen could do it, so could he, and we see him prepare for what comes next. It was time, he declared, for everyone to witness his own personal massacre of demons. Zhao Tianqi arrogantly raised his hand and produced a bottle of incredibly expensive, expert-level abyssal potion. He started with this expert-level draft, a bold opening move, to be sure. It was worth 800,000. He mocked Luo Chen's poverty, assuming his archangel was stuck drinking plain cold water. The viewers in both chat rooms burst into laughter because at that very moment, something quite different was happening. Luo Chen strode boldly into the city hall and gave a firm command to release their full power. There was no need to hold back. He wanted to demonstrate absolute strength and make a lasting first impression. He handed over the first bottle of angelic supplement, telling Lact that everything now depended on her. Lact popped open the titanium alloy can, letting the crystalline liquid flow down her throat as a radiant, holy light erupted. Every one of Lact's wings began to glow with a pure, dark gold hue, radiating an invisible, divine power. Inside the city hall, the Hinchuan officials looked up in shock, suddenly finding themselves face-to-face with these unexpected visitors. "What brings you here?" a reception official asked, hurrying toward them with a respectful tone. He told them that if they were the reinforcements from the Lan government, they should head to the city walls immediately. Luo Chen, however, felt there was no rush. The city walls were solid as a rock and wouldn't fall so easily. He simply crossed his fingers and calmly demanded that the mayor come down to meet them. He announced that he was there to take full authority over all internal and military affairs of the city. And just like that, everyone in the city hall was completely petrified by his audacity. The reaction in the live stream chat was much the same, pure, unadulterated shock. Our viewers were stunned, as they had never seen such a peculiar strategy for clearing a dungeon before. Imagine the scene. He arrives and immediately prepares to seize total control of the entire dungeon. The mayor, likely just as bewildered, stepped out from his second-floor office to see what the commotion was about. Looking down at Luo Chen, he asked with heavy sarcasm if the young man truly trusted in his own abilities. To the mayor, he was just a stranger with an unfamiliar face trying to usurp power amidst the chaos. Luo Chen only smiled faintly, signaling for Lact to prepare her main form. He maintained that calm smile as he instructed Rococo to do the same with her original body. He decided they had finished beating around the bush and told Lact to step forward immediately. She activated her sacred fervor set, her entire body glowing with holy light and surrounded by divine power. And there, on her chest, two prominent insignias appeared that simply could not be ignored. The protector of the nation and the defender insignias shone as Lact gave a cold snort, revealing her true identity. She declared that here in Hinchuan City, she held level 7 authority, a staggering revelation, to be sure. She reminded the mayor that while they shared the same rank, he was merely an administrative official. She pointed out that, currently, the city is in a state of war. So, she asked if he could please step down and yield his position to someone more capable. We see the livestream viewers are absolutely stunned by this turn of events. Level 7 authority? They wondered where on earth that could have come from. It was incredible. They questioned if Luo Chen had been hiding an ace up his sleeve all along. Some even wondered if it was possible to cheat in a beginner's dungeon like this. Immediately, a few felt that such high-level authority must have an illegitimate origin. Others argued that those who didn't understand the situation were the ones being foolish. They warned the skeptics not to be so quick to label Luo Chen a cheater. Perhaps Lact is a reborn reserve who previously served alongside Luo Chen's mother. During the war, the progress of this dungeon might have been preserved through her. It made sense. With such a trick available, it's no wonder Luo Chen went straight to the city hall. He intends to take the mayor's seat, even though the country was in ruins from the beast invasion. Originally, the main goal was to test the students' high-intensity combat skills. It was meant to be an RPG, but once Luo Chen becomes mayor, it turns into a real-time strategy game. To be honest, the very nature of the dungeon is about to change completely. It is no wonder now that Luo Chen dared to speak with such bold confidence. He truly believes he can break the record, and the viewers online can't help but feel the excitement. Everyone realized that, just maybe, they were about to witness something historic. They might actually see Chen Fun's 23-year-old record finally be broken. At the same time, we see that Zhao Tianqi was also feeling quite confused. He wondered what was happening, as his immortal demon, which was currently in the middle of a bloody battle. She was putting on a marvelous show of pure slaughter for the cameras. So, why on earth was the number of viewers continuously dropping? His audience had plummeted from 50,000 online to a mere 5,000. In Chapter 18, we see the master facing elimination with a rating of 0. His companion quickly reminds Zhao Tianqi not to get distracted and to focus on the immortal witch, Alice. He wished for her intellect to transform this chaos into combat power for various sides, and finally, it happened. She then unleashed a level 5 power to defeat and cover the exorcisms and sword pearls from multiple factions. From their bodies, she ceaselessly drains life and mana, returning herself to her peak state. It was excellent. Her entire skill set was circulating perfectly, maintaining a full battle team. Zhao Tianqi was absolutely elated by Alice's performance. He was especially satisfied with 2 exorcisms as the vanguard and 2 sword pearls guarding the rear, with him and Alice guarding the back. This was a luxury team for a beginner's dungeon. They were simply invincible, making the 120 million dragon coins he spent on this S-rank beast feel well worth it. He let out a sigh and continued to mock the situation toward the livestream camera, thinking of what was to come. He imagined when Luo Chun, that short-sighted idiot, would eventually return to reality defeated and see the truth. He wanted him to see how this young master was devastating enemies with the very which he had handed over. At that moment, he assumed our top student would probably go completely insane with rage. Zhao Tianqi felt smug picturing Luo Chen's imminent anger, but the audience in the livestream room had other ideas. The audience began to flood the chat with clown emojis in unison, mocking him with cold indifference. They told him to stop panting, calling him a clown king who, compared to Luo Chen, was just an ant trying to shake a tree. They mocked his audacity, noting he was still obsessing over those measly 120 million coins. In a single night of live streaming, Luo Chen could earn that exact amount. While Zhao could only depend on his father, Luo Chen was building his own path through sheer talent. With his skills, he could climb directly into the inner circle of the Dragon Slayer Lord. Between his studies in resurrection and tamed beasts, he had even secured a close friendship with Lord Sabuki. Zhao Tianqi turned bright red instantly, screaming at the idiots to shut up and threatening to mute them all. He had lived a sheltered life under the protection of his father, the Beast Tamer Dominator, regardless of his foolishness. In reality, no one dared to expose him to his face, but unfortunately for him, this was the internet. And on the internet, users weren't exactly known for coddling spoiled young masters. Zhao Tianqi's air of superiority only served to provoke the hatred of the masses, and not just the netizens. To be honest, his act of snatching an S-rank pre-summoned beast was seen by everyone as a blatantly despicable move. Luo Chun, meanwhile, was a grassroots champion with an aura of restraint who always repaid his favors. Exhausting his heart and soul to resurrect the angel sister had naturally earned him the respect of the entire world. One viewer even brought up the deadly poison streamer, mentioning how he had bet against Luo Chun and ended up in tears. They told the Zhao cub not to think so highly of himself, as his importance was mostly in his own head. They warned that the day his father, Zhao Yinchen, fell from power, he would be nothing more than a joke in his own stream. The audience plummeted again, leaving barely 2,000 viewers, and Zhao Tianqi finally exploded in a fit of rage. But his fury was cut short when he received a private message from his father, stating, "I am watching your dungeon livestream." His father's message continued, telling him not to look at the comments from the useless losers below, lest they ruin his mindset. He claimed that resentment toward the wealthy is simply the standard behavior of the weak. The message was clear, do you understand? As for Luo Chun, I will be the one to handle his ruin. For now, he told him to let the boy play for a few days, and Zhao Tianqi finally felt relieved and stopped talking. However, as a Beastmaster apprentice, he was still a burden to his team, and he soon found himself bored. He couldn't resist secretly opening Luo Chen's livestream on his pre-summoned beast panel, and then he heard it. He heard a sentence that sounded like an imperial edict, one that absolutely would not admit any refusal. Luo Chun was saying, "Mr. Mayor, we are now in a wartime state of emergency. Please transfer all your permissions. Transfer them to me and my pre-summoned beast." Zhao Tianqi was left speechless, certain that Luo Chun had finally gone mad. Su Zongjian, the principal of High School Number 1, was also watching and found himself completely stunned. He felt that Comrade Chun was ignoring the big picture by not supporting the city wall, which desperately needed help. The situation was urgent, yet here he was, forcing the mayor's hand, which, to the principal, looked like he was just causing trouble. As we might expect, the audience was also deeply divided on the matter. Some argued that while the whole country fought the beast tide with a common hatred, Luo Chun was undermining internal unity. They claimed he was destroying their defenses. If this weren't a dungeon, but reality, the consequences would be dire. In fact, he could have been considered a traitor and faced a firing squad immediately. Others told them not to exaggerate, reminding everyone that this was, after all, just a dungeon. Since it was virtual, he was free to act as he pleased, and besides, this was Luo Chen's private dungeon. He wanted total control, telling the critics with their stagnant mindsets and old dogmas to stay out of it. They told them to shut up, because for all they knew, Luo Chen might actually find a way through. What different paths could they possibly take? Instantly, the mayor of Hinchuan City asked him coldly, He reminded him that he was nothing more than a Beastmaster apprentice. What right did he have to unify a city, attempting to seize power during a time of war? To the mayor, this looked suspiciously like a rebellion. He immediately ordered all protection forces to arrest this man without delay. He wanted him locked away in QCI to await trial. Naturally, the spectators gasped. Things had taken a very dark turn. With a single sentence from the mayor, all of Luo Chen's options were suddenly blocked. This meant that all of his authorizations within the dungeon instance were stripped away. Watching this unfold, Zhao Tianqi began to laugh wildly. He was certain Luo Chen was finished. This fool, who thought himself so clever, would likely finish the first instance with 0 points. Now, all the reputation he had worked so hard to build would be reduced to nothing. Without hesitation, he took the initiative to reward Luo Chen with 2,000 yuan in the livestream room. Using the voice subtitle feature, the system announced the arrival of a distinguished user. It was Zhao Tianqi himself, gifting 2,000 yuan in cash, and he made sure to include a voice message. He mockingly congratulated the Gaokao champion student on achieving a score of absolute 0. It was a reverse record, as he was about to become the first Beast Master to be eliminated at a national level. He remarked that the witch was absolutely right to abandon Luo Chen and choose him instead. By the way, he noted that their national enemy kill score was already appearing on the dungeon leaderboard. They were currently ranked 5th in the entire country, his witch was proving to be quite useful indeed. Luo Chen, however, paid no attention to Zhao Tianqi's arrogant provocations. He quickly took a step forward. With a faint, cold smile, he simply said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Even if he craves authority, he must follow the newly enacted laws of our Dragon Kingdom." He cited document number 0783, the specific regulations for managing warriors during a beast invasion. In the event of a city attack, without superior approval, the highest-ranking military commander must be the one with the highest position and merits. And as it turns out, his Beast Master Lack holds level 7 authority, just like the mayor himself. But she also possesses a first-class Medal of Merit and a collective third-class Medal of Merit. Luo Chen was neither sad nor arrogant. He didn't yield an inch, emphasizing every single word. So, he politely suggested the mayor resign and hand the position to someone more capable. Mayor Qian, however, still refused to back down, roaring with a hoarse, desperate voice. He ordered them to seize him in the name of the mayor right there in the city hall. We see the public officials hesitating, caught in a very difficult position. After all, how could they dare to attack a hero of Longhua who holds a first-class Medal of Merit? Luo Chen repeated his stance, this time with a small, victorious smile. He pointed out that the mayor was not only refusing to cede authority, but was clearly coveting power. Furthermore, he was attempting to assassinate a decorated hero who had received the first-class Medal of Longhua. This, he concluded, was an act of treason, a crime that must be punished by execution on the spot. The words had barely left his lips when Lack's palm began to move. She had already summoned the Archangel's sword, a sacred light flashed, and the mayor's head was sent flying. Chapter 19, Gown and Dungeon, a transcript of a most satisfying novel. Inside the city hall, a head rolled across the floor while everyone simply stared at one another. Lost in a total stupor, they heard Luo Chen calmly state that the only person with level 7 clearance now was his contracted beast, Miss Lack. He, quite logically, accepted all the permissions that came with his new status. I am to become the battlefield commander of this city. Who among you is in agreement? And who stands against it? He asked, but naturally, no one dared to answer. Lack decided to cut to the chase, completing the transfer of power immediately in the name of the battlefield commander. She authorized Luo Chen to take over the city's maximum administrative power, effectively making him the temporary mayor. Next, we see the order given for all soldiers and military police to head to the city walls to assist. Move out, don't just stand there like fools, he commanded with authority. Lack urged them forward, and finally, someone took that first step, hoisting their weapons. They rushed toward the north wall, which was currently facing a frontal assault by demonic beasts and a flood of co-oxen. At your command, Commander. More people ran to the battlefield as Luo Chen, now the temporary mayor, issued his first official order. He instructed all administrative personnel to immediately issue a recruitment order for every citizen in the city. All reserve soldiers and militias were to report for defense, and the city's arsenal was to be thrown wide open. Distributing weapons to the citizens was exactly what his lordship, the new mayor, desired. At the same time, he ordered all heavy military industries in the interior, even the private ones, to switch to combat mode and dedicate their entire production capacity to his cause. Every available material would be invested in weapon production, and the notice was to be sent out immediately. Under the firm command of Mayor Luo Chen, it didn't take long for the city of Hinchuan to transform. Everything began to move in an orderly fashion, with all military forces fully committed to the defense. The civilian population became a solid backbone, uniting the military and the people as one. The legacy of the Dragon Kingdom's great power was unleashed, and the industrial giant began to operate at a frantic pace. The minds of the netizens watching the live stream seemed to stop collectively, and who could blame them, really? Even when the country is shattered, the rivers and mountains remain, standing as a testament to their resilience. We have to wonder, is there truly any other strategy quite like this for handling a demonic beast invasion? While other beast tamers were fighting bravely on the front lines, Luo Chun remained in the office. By simply leaning back and issuing casual orders, he actually managed to successfully defend the entire city. Others fight with their hands, but Luo Chun uses the state machinery itself. They simply aren't on the same level. The 24 hours inside the dungeon passed quickly, lasting only 4 hours in our reality. And so, the first day's settlement arrived exactly as scheduled. On the list of treacherous enemies, we see Luo Chun at 001 and Zhao Tianxi at 008. In the attack achievements, Luo Chun's Lo Kek reached level 8, while Zhao Tianxi's Alice sat at level 1. The system issued a reminder regarding the combination of Luo Chun and his companion, Lo Kek. It was the highest record in 23 years, earning an additional evaluation of 100 points, much to Zhao Tianxi's dismay. He was nearly driven mad by the news. How could anyone break records on the very first day of a rookie dungeon? To be perfectly honest, a level 8 attack achievement seemed almost impossible to comprehend. In his frustration, he couldn't help but continue rewarding with 1,000 points. He sent a voice message, demanding to know if Luo Chun had cheated to achieve such results. He questioned those 7 points, baffled as to why there was a full line of level 7 attack achievements. They were all spiritual records, displayed right in front of tens of millions of spectators. He asked if Luo Chun was cheating so brazenly, wondering if he truly believed no one would punish him. And so, Zhao Tianxi officially reported Luo Chun for cheating within the beginner dungeon. Luo Chun simply leaned back on the town hall sofa, sipping the red tea provided by the mayor's secretary with a calm smile. He thanked young Master Zhao for the 2,000 points, though he dryly suggested the man start using his brain for once. We see that there are currently 24 million spectators watching this live stream very closely. He noted that at least 20,000 haters had already tried to report him to Shiming, and yet, here he was. He was still perfectly fine, having faced no forced expulsion from the dungeon whatsoever. The conclusion seemed obvious enough, but then Luo Chun turned the tables on his accuser. He reminded Zhao that earlier that day, he was busy draining Luo Chun's spiritual essence and facing immediate elimination. Now that he had reached the top, he wondered what that jumping clown could possibly have left to say. Zhao Tianxi ground his teeth in fury, stammering that Luo Chun must have exploited some glitch in the dungeon system. Luo Chun asked with total indifference why anyone would even bother starting at level 7. He remarked that mediocre and foolish people, much like Zhao, love to attribute everything they can't achieve to others. They call it cheating, of course, so he decided it was time to finally open their eyes. And so, he prepared to explain his entire strategy for the dungeon guide to the massive audience. The crowd was stunned. A guide like this could easily fetch 50 million at an auction, yet he was giving it away. Many declared themselves fans on the spot, moved by what they saw as an act of incredible generosity. In reality, he was about to reveal the exact plan he used to shatter a world record. The viewers were overwhelmed with gratitude, but Luo Chun simply waved his hand to quiet the noise. He told them there was no need for thanks, acting with a humility that felt almost out of place. He warned them that after hearing it, they might just sigh at having gained a bit of useless knowledge. After all, as we are about to learn, his guide was designed specifically for his own unique situation. He explained that his strategy had no general applicability, as the entire foundation relied on having level 7 in every single aspect. He then posed a question to all his viewers. Why exactly did his sister enter the field with level 7 stats across the board? The clever ones among us likely already know the answer, which can be summed up in just a few words. She is, quite literally, an angel who has returned from the dead. Because her level had been reset, she was eligible to participate in the beginner dungeon once again. But more importantly, she had already completed this very dungeon in her previous life while following his mother. Furthermore, she already possessed level 7 permissions from the moment of Lax's resurrection through the conquest of the Shattered Lands. Everything was interconnected, forming part of a long-term plan he had carefully orchestrated. Luo Chun smiled and asked Zhao Tianxi if he finally understood why he had so easily given up the immortal witch to strike him instead. He had secured a fortune of 120 million because his future plans involved Lax, not that fickle which Zhao was so obsessed with. Zhao, however, argued that Luo Chun had simply stayed in the office without moving an inch or killing a single enemy. He demanded to know why such a person would be ranked first on the list of traitors. He began to complain loudly, insisting that the scoring system itself must be flawed. But before Luo Chun could even offer a response, the internet audience drowned out his protests with mockery. They pointed out that the explanation was perfectly clear and that he was simply being dense. The enemy traitor list counts the total number of enemies who fall within the dungeon, a detail he had clearly missed. They mocked him, asking if he hadn't also spent his time just splashing around aimlessly on the battlefield. Unable to bear the constant ridicule from Luo Chun's fans filling his screen, Zhao Tianxi slammed his live stream shut in a fit of rage. Luo Chun is certainly shrewd. Inside the dungeon, he is notoriously stingy and prefers to conserve every bit of his energy. And so, we continue with the saga of the Shattered Lands and Ruined Rivers in this dungeon series. These are high-intensity dungeons that last for more than 24 hours. One must fight a prolonged battle, and yet we wonder, did he do it all while sleeping? A massive debate regarding Luo Chun had already begun to spread like wildfire across the net. One question remained on everyone's mind, and according to anonymous sources, Beast Resurrection topped the trending lists in seconds, entering the game with level 7 permissions. Well, should that be considered cheating? Under Luo Chen's management, the university entrance exam dungeon was transformed into a thrilling story in a matter of moments. Are there any spoilers? We move to Chapter 20, the right to a special placement. Su Zhanjian, from the First Beast Tamer High School, prepares to welcome a very distinguished guest. It is none other than the envoy from Dijing University himself. Welcome, Mr. Xiaofan. Please, try my pure tea from the old era, which I have treasured for many years. The original production site has long since been destroyed by the beast tide, you see. The tea is now permanently extinct, and the old principal enthusiastically receives his guest, not forgetting to test the waters. What is the reason for this sudden visit? Naturally, he has come in search of a supreme beast-taming talent. Xiaofan sets down his teacup and speaks with total sincerity, asking the principal to recommend the student Luo Chun. We see that Dijing University is ranked as the third best university in the Dragon Kingdom and 7th globally for beast tamer cultivation. It is safe to say that they boast an incredibly prestigious faculty. They are more than willing to grant Luo Chun special admission without requiring an entrance exam. His specific study on the resurrection of beasts has caused quite a stir. Many beast scholars at the university are deeply interested and are even willing to hire him as a graduate student. Xiaofan puffed out his chest with pride, promising to pass the message along. Su Zhanjian was absolutely euphoric, as it had been a very long time since Zonghai City had seen a representative from Dijing University. It seems Zonghai University had recently hired a graduate from a famous beast tamer school to bolster their ranks. The principal believed that with the intelligence of a true scholar, Luo Chun wouldn't be so foolish as to reject such an offer. Xiaofan was quite satisfied, shaking the principal's hand to seal the deal until Luo Chun finally emerged from the beginner dungeon. They planned to send the admission letter immediately after what had been, by all accounts, a very warm reception. And yet, Xiaofan hid his true feelings as he left the office, feeling somewhat depressed and muttering a few vague curses under his breath. He was cursing in his heart because a special admission spot at Dijing University is a truly rare prize. Think of how precious it is. The children of powerful figures fight over it, yet he was only served 2 cups of weak tea. There was no other gesture of gratitude, which, to be honest, felt a bit stingy on the principal's part. He soon left the campus, only to run straight into a stout, robust middle-aged man who greeted him enthusiastically with crossed arms. The man called out a warm greeting, noting that it had been quite a long time since he last saw Director Xiaofan. He suggested they grab a quick bite, and Xiaofan, pleasantly surprised, laughed and gave his old friend a hearty hug. It was Zhao Jinshan, and Xiaofan wondered if he was in Zonghai City on business all the way from Dijing. As it turns out, his son was currently attending the First Beast Tamer High School right here in Zonghai. The boy was currently participating in the beginner dungeon alongside the other students. His official registration for the university entrance exam had even been transferred to this city for the occasion. Zhao Jinshan smiled slightly, putting an arm around Xiaofan's shoulder as they made their way into the heart of Zonghai City. They arrived at the only restaurant in town boasting 4 Michelin stars, a very grand choice indeed. Xiaofan remarked that his friend had gone a bit overboard, but being a clever man, he understood the subtext of such a fancy meal immediately. It seemed young Xiao Tianqi had his sights set on attending Dijing University, and his father was making sure the path was clear. He asked if the boy's grades for the Beast Tamer University entrance exam actually met the required standards. His current national ranking was 4,829th, a bit on the lower side, perhaps, but it did technically meet the threshold. Xiaofan and Zhao Jinshan were old university classmates with a very close bond, which made this deliberation quite awkward. He explained that he only had 1 spot available, and back at the school, everyone was clamoring for Luo Chun. The young man had apparently mastered the mysterious art of beast resurrection. In fact, many professors were eager to exchange academic knowledge with him regarding this phenomenon. A professor at Dijing University is still a professor, after all. Zhao Jinshan then pulled a tablet from his briefcase. He showed his friend some recent news, and yes, it was quite revealing. It suggested that Luo Chun's beast resurrection was nothing more than deceptive advertising. Luo Chun was about to be deeply embroiled in an academic fraud scandal, a revelation that left Xiaofan quite shocked. The Angel Lac experiment had indeed been resurrected and was currently jumping around. Everything seemed evident, yet there was a nagging feeling that even this evidence could be faked. He looked down and immediately discovered that those news articles had already defined the case as a death. Should the miracle of Lac's return truly be defined as beast resurrection? Until a second example of beast resurrection appears, it remains difficult for us to determine the truth. We are left wondering if Luo Chen simply got lucky or if he possesses genuine, world-changing skills. While Xiaofan skimmed the reports, Zhao Jinshan secretly slipped an expensive shadow diamond into his pocket. Xiaofan found the situation interesting and perhaps a little distasteful deep down. If beast resurrection doesn't actually exist, then a prestigious university wouldn't necessarily need to recruit Luo Chen. It seemed the ownership of that special admission quota still needed to be discussed, after all. At the same time, we see that the country is lying in ruins. This is the reality within the simulation of the magical beast invasion. As the first ray of light dawned on the horizon of Hinchuan, a massive tide of demonic wind wolves and ghost panthers gathered in the distance. This meant that the second day of the city's defense engineering had officially begun. Every beast tamer in Hinchuan was on edge, bracing themselves with absolute focus. To be perfectly honest, the first day's work was merely an introductory lesson for beginners. It was designed to let them adapt to the simulation, with very little actual intensity involved. But now, the true battle was finally about to begin. Every military force available to the city climbed onto the walls, leaving no one behind in reserve. They had called up the militia and the reserves the day before, but their overall strength remained dangerously thin. He sighed, noting with deep concern that these military forces were the most vulnerable part of the plan. They were soldiers of the old era, and they lacked enough beast tamers to bolster their ranks. Their weapons consisted of simple, semi-automatic rifles. They had been sitting idle in the armory, but the demonic wind wolf possesses skin that naturally repels metal. Furthermore, the ghost leopard is immune to bullets, using shockwaves to deflect anything that comes near. The bullets won't even explode, hitting us exactly where it hurts the most. Lak thought long and hard, but he simply couldn't come up with a viable solution. Meanwhile, Luo Chen gazed out at the battlefield, a landscape defined by blood and fire. He smiled faintly and told Sister Kiki not to worry. He explained that during her 7 years of eternal sleep, the scientific research of the Preventa scholars had made incredible breakthroughs. We have already deciphered the 2 fundamental points regarding the repulsion skin. Lak was genuinely surprised, though to put it bluntly, the solution was quite simple. You only need to use holy light to burn their skin, and the repulsion field will fail immediately. Luo Chen then issued his orders in the name of the Beast Master. B. Lak, I authorize you to use every potion in stock with the force of a thunderclap. Capturing the king is the key to breaking the 2 main points of the beast nest. He was referring, of course, to the demon bee wolf emperor and the ghost leopard queen. He drew 2 circles over the dense crowd of beasts on the map. These 2 specific areas held the most concentrated numbers of the beast tide. Execute the decapitation plan immediately. Without a moment's hesitation, Lak pulled 3 bottles of angelic rebirth potions from her backpack. One was a master-level solitude upper realm light potion. The others were expert-level solitary valor evil exorcist potions. In the next moment, the trial angels soared into the sky, and the abundant holy light illuminated every screen. Everything turned a dazzling white, and good God, Luo Chen is certainly willing to spend a fortune. It's no wonder he made such bold statements about being determined to break the dungeon record. 1 master-level bottle and 2 expert-level potions completely filled Lak with power. This single move will burn through tens of millions of dragon coins. As a quick disclaimer, it's not that he couldn't afford it, but rather why he hadn't given them to his children yet. He simply felt that using the best possible potion configurations wasn't cost-effective until now. After all, even the final reward for the Starguard dungeon probably isn't worth 10 million. Our viewers are left in disbelief as we move into Chapter 21, Crushing Domination. The report of the 10-year celestial trial suddenly appears on the scene. Faced with the doubts of the internet users, Luo Chen didn't even mention the reward for breaking the Star Guardian dungeon record. He simply whispered, through the artifact's Poison God connection, about the first-place prize of the Star Guardian dungeon. It can grant a special 20-point bonus for the pre-sale Gaokao, which helps him get into top-tier universities. The netizens suddenly realized what was happening. Now it makes sense. It's no wonder, as the truly top-tier cities have extremely strict score requirements. Luo Chen is betting on the future. Although it's a huge financial loss, it's a common gamble, but how could they know? His real purpose isn't just the immediate gain. The final record-breaking reward is the true goal he's fighting for. Under the blessing of 3 potion flasks, Lak, who is already at the peak of S rank and possesses a lifetime of combat experience, prepares herself. With ease, she summoned an archangel's sword burning with divine fire, a sacred judgment against all evils. Evasion was useless as a beam of punishment light from the sanctuary, casting a terrifying shadow hundreds of meters long, appeared. It fell from the sky directly onto the location of the demon wind wolf emperor. With a chorus of howls, the demon wind wolves immediately descended into a state of panic. They felt their fur burning, the hair of many beasts was ignited, and their metallic repulsion skin failed instantly. Luo Chen's military order was issued without a moment's delay. He commanded all city defenders to focus on the coordinates he marked. He told them to pour out bullets and firepower, exhausting every magazine and reserve of fire shells. The infantry and gunners on the Hinchuan city walls executed Luo Chen's military orders strictly and without the slightest error. Luo Chen is certainly an academic genius, but we see that even geniuses can make low-level mistakes, or so it seemed. The metallic repulsion skin is the racial talent of the demon wind wolf, making them the creatures who fear metal the least. They are, essentially, one of the few demonic beasts that can shrug off metallic bullets with ease. And yet, quite obviously, the strike from the sanctuary light had been effective. So, why not strike while the iron is hot? To be honest, it was the only logical move. The goal was to annihilate the demon wind wolves, but for a moment, Luo Chen's instructions seemed to slip away. Everyone was perplexed, but then the storm of machine gun fire erupted into the pack of demon wind wolves. They fell in great numbers, like wheat fields devastated by hail, left without any power to defend themselves. Our spectators looked at each other in total disbelief at the sight. The metallic repulsion skin had failed. Many instinctively wanted to claim Luo Chen was cheating, especially the detractors from yesterday. But those voices simply sank into the sea of the internet without receiving any feedback or support. This group of viewers was left feeling quite useless and uneducated in the face of such a display. The viewers from Donghang explained with a hint of disdain, pointing them toward a specific research article. It was a study on the skin's metal rejection, where the mechanics were written very clearly for all to see. One simply needs to destroy the magical beast skin to collapse the metal rejection field entirely. It's quite obvious now. Luo Chen's plan was to burn the wolf skin away using the sacred crimson light. Oh, I see. Now the strategy becomes completely clear to everyone watching. Yes, of course. Many claimed they had read similar articles before, once the answer was handed to them. But they seem to forget one small detail. Who else actually has someone like Men Shanshan on their side? While the spectators pretend to understand everything, the rabid wolf has finally appeared on the battlefield. The time had come to execute the plan and begin the elimination immediately. Luo Chen's gaze suddenly locked onto a giant wolf lurking in the distance. Its size was far greater than that of any normal demon wind wolf we have seen. It was 3 times larger, a true beast, but Zhou was already there to deliver justice. She moved with a sonic boom, striking with a speed that was frankly terrifying. She descended like a judgment directly upon the head of the rabid demon wind wolf. It was time for the Archangel's sword to deliver another decisive cut. With the 50% attack speed from the Angel's reigniting potion, the 30% damage from the Upper Realm Light potion, and the Evil Assassin potion, which grants 50% bonus damage against magical beasts, the rabid wolf could only manage a faint whimper. And just like that, it died, sliced clean in half. Next, Luo Chen ordered her to repeat the trick and move on to assassinate Gui Jingbao. Another successful strike. By now, both primary boss leaders had been eliminated from the field. Today's Magical Beast project had officially entered what we might call garbage time. Without unified leadership, the enemy's resolve was completely dampened. They were undoubtedly a pile of loose sand, destined only to become a conversation piece for Shou Chen's troops. Job finished. Luo Chen calmly brushed off the dust and returned to the mayor's office. He went back to cutting a piece of char siu, but the angel was in no hurry to leave. Her potion effects still had plenty of time left, so she let loose in the dungeon, showing off years of combat experience. Her mana output skills were, without a doubt, overkill for a beginner-level dungeon. The Flame Angel, once enhanced to level 80 in her previous life, was simply an unstoppable existence here. His points began to climb at a dizzying pace, reaching heights that were utterly unattainable for any of his competitors. As night fell, the results for the second day were tallied and released exactly as scheduled. On the DNA enemy list, we see Luo Chen's name appearing once again. Number 001 is Zhao Tianqi, followed by number 0013. On the hard work list, we find Luo Chen and Lack leading the way. Zhao Tianqi and Alice sit at level 9, while the system issues a special reminder regarding Luo Chen. The combination of Luo Kiki and Lack has once again broken the 23-year record for the hard work system. For this feat, he is awarded an additional 100 evaluation points. This brings his current total to 200 bonus points. Luo Chen couldn't help but pause and reflect. He wondered if the system would record every single time he broke a record. If the dungeon lasts for 7 days, he realized he could potentially walk away with 700 extra points for free. But then he considered the maximum score for a rookie dungeon. Isn't the cap usually just 100 points? To be honest, the idea of a 100-point limit seemed like a joke to him now. If he managed to secure 1,000 points, he suspected the system's reward list would be flooded with high-end items. He was truly on the verge of a massive breakthrough, or so Luo Chen told himself as he began to daydream. Could there be artifacts waiting for him, or perhaps some other form of legendary additional reward? The thought of an SSS-class presale just for him was a very solid, very tempting illusion. It wasn't even dark yet, in the real world, at least. Don't get ahead of yourself, my friend. After all, this is still just a dungeon for beginners. In an era where everyone gets a presale, this level is usually considered little more than scrap. Don't overthink it, Luo Chen told himself quite seriously, especially regarding the possibility of a divine-level artifact or presale appearing. Who would he even sell it to on a live stream? Well, he decided he would simply trade it instead. It was highly likely to drop, and by now, darkness had fully settled in. He was referring to the actual Western Hemisphere, of course. So what came next? You are free to dream, my friend. After all, what is a rookie dungeon if not a place for possibilities? Even within these beginner trials, one is allowed to have grand ambitions. Though, to be perfectly honest, expecting an artifact to drop was nothing more than a fantasy. Luo Chun was a man who delivered, but he had to wonder who actually possessed such realistic expectations. I'm not even asleep yet. Xiao Chun, he muttered to himself. Luo Kiki returned from her patrol of the explosives and saw him there, still perched on the city walls, hunched over his desk writing. He was busy modifying the battle plan for the third day, which caused her to look on in genuine surprise. Hadn't he already finalized a complete plan? She wondered why he felt the need to make temporary changes now. As the saying goes, even the best plans are often no match for sudden changes. Luo Chun crossed his fingers and explained that their focus had shifted because they had unexpectedly wiped out the swift current wolves already. With the phantom shadow of the Yellow River gone, the upcoming tide of magical beasts would be significantly reduced. This meant that the difficulty of defending the city the following day would change. No, it wouldn't just change, it would definitely decrease in a very significant way. This allowed them to free up their hands and begin making preparations. They were preparing for a grand counteroffensive, a plan so bold it would leave anyone listening with their mouth wide open. No, brother, she thought, you are truly taking this to a level of madness. While other rookie beast tamers are currently reeling under the fierce onslaught of the beast tide, and statistics show that 56.8% of them have already been eliminated, things look quite different here. In reality, our protagonist is already preparing for a massive counteroffensive. He truly intends to aim for 1,000 points, an unprecedented feat, to be sure. In Chapter 22, we find Luo Chun in the mayor's office, stretching lazily on a luxurious leather sofa. He gestures for Luo Kiki to come over and take a seat right beside him. He pulls out some silk cloths and begins to patiently and meticulously clean his equipment. As he wipes the blood from the angel's wings, he casually answers questions from his fans. Since the opportunity to earn 1,000 points exists, he sees no reason to ignore it. Why not go for it? He decides to break down the math for his viewers. With every daily settlement, his merit points are set to break all previous records. 7 days of work would result in 700 additional evaluation points. And then, at the final settlement of the dungeon, as everyone knows, those who break records receive an extra 200 points. In other words, he is looking at a minimum of 900 points. Luo Chun moved his fingers, a deep, calculating look appearing in his eyes. He was firmly asserting his goal of a long-term evaluation of 1,000 points. When compared to a standard 100-point evaluation, the reward tier would increase significantly by an entire level. In fact, at that point, he would finally be able to unlock the Broken Nation. The mountains and rivers remain, yet the invasion of magical beasts continues to loom over everything. As the list of ultimate rewards appeared, the livestream chat suddenly erupted into a total frenzy. That is the mysterious list, the one that no one in the Dragon Kingdom has ever managed to unlock. We absolutely have to keep the stream running so we can all witness this together. I've heard from a few gossip videos that the founders of our nation are hidden within the rookie dungeon. They are there specifically to offer ultimate rewards to the most worthy successors of the motherland. It's a way to honor those who truly excel, which is a nice touch, if you think about it. Could a miracle be happening? Meanwhile, in the presidential suite of the Diao Hotel in Zhonghai City, a sharp, sudden sound rang out. Secretary Bri rushed in and found boss Zhao Yingchen there. He was pulling his arm away from the monitor with a look of pure, unexpected shock on his face. They say the greedy are always left behind, and he seemed to be feeling that weight now. Staring intently at the sparks flying from the broken screen, he offered a cold, dry explanation. There was a fly on the screen just a moment ago, he claimed, a likely story, of course. Now I've crushed its insides and blown its brains out. It has nowhere left to be buried. The secretary replied obediently, promising to replace the monitor with a brand new one immediately. By tomorrow, she would even contact the cleaning team to fumigate the entire house, just in case. Tell me, he muttered, as she hurried out the door to fulfill his demands. This was followed by the sound of rapid, heavy footsteps echoing down the hallway. Beastmaster, you? What is it? A middle-aged boss, cigar in hand, stepped through the doorway. He sat down calmly on the sofa beside him, acting as if smashing monitors was a perfectly normal hobby. He wore a smile that seemed to take in everything. It was none other than the man himself, the director of admissions for Dijin University, Xiaofun. Zhao Yingchen spoke with clear irritation, wondering what would happen if Luo Chun broke Chun Fun's 23-year record. If he actually obtains the artifact, he will immediately dominate every trending search across the Longwa media. He would become a national superstar overnight. And in that moment, both you and I would become villains in the eyes of the public. His life is in danger, and the situation is becoming increasingly grave. And yet, you can still laugh? Zhao brushed the plastic shards from his arm, glaring angrily at the other man. Xiaofan countered immediately, asking if he was starting to have second thoughts. Was he really going to return the special admission slot to Luo Chen after everything? He reminded him that he had already confirmed Zhao Tianqi as the only special admission student in Zonghai City. Xiaofan chuckled, noting that they were both grasshoppers tied to the same string now. Why bother testing him? Besides, he felt the boss was simply overthinking things. A small dungeon like that, how could it possibly drop a legendary artifact? Was he really taking the dungeons designed by the national servers so lightly? Zhao Yingchun was taken aback. In this world, mechanics and opportunities are fleeting. He admitted that Xiao was right, conceding that he was perhaps a bit confused by the chaos. In just 48 hours, the boy's following had surged to 20 million followers. It was becoming incredibly difficult for him to suppress the news, but he decided it didn't matter. Even if he is infinitely glamorous now, in the end, he is still just a small, insignificant player. An apprentice beast tamer. To be honest, the road ahead of him is still very long. The moment he makes a single mistake, he will be lost forever. These are the people who have lost their way. Poor souls, really, living an entire life without any margin for error. They simply lack the confidence to pick themselves up and try again. Xiaofan spoke lazily, noting that in his years as director of admissions, he had seen countless geniuses rise. And then, they vanish like falling stars. Of those the public praises as prodigies, in the end, 99% of them simply fade into the crowd. That is why Xiaofan continues to speak so dismissively. Only the teaching building donated to Dijin University is truly valuable in his eyes. The school board has already unanimously approved the special admission. The student is Zhao Tianqi. As for Luo Chun, a student from such a humble background will be immediately forgotten by fickle netizens once the novelty wears off. That is the nature of the internet today. Influencers are nothing more than fast-moving consumer goods. The creation of a god and his subsequent fall are now only a matter of days. He smiled with pure contempt. They only needed to stay quiet for a few days and let the internet insults fly. He was willing to bet that in a week, there would be a brand new hot topic to distract everyone. Student Zhao Tianqi. In the textbook, he has bad luck and fails. In the textbook. Meanwhile, we find Luo Chen carefully washing each of Rococo's angel feathers and massaging her shoulders. He smiled helplessly, wondering who else would take care of them if he didn't. He told the little gourmet not to be impatient, as there are only a few dozen global artifacts in existence. Every single one is in the hands of powerful figures. The ownership of each artifact could trigger a bloody storm or even an all-out national war. Having an artifact in hand can undoubtedly increase a pre-sale team's strength by 300 to 500%. Immediately, we could reclaim our home from defeat and protect the peace of an entire region. And so, placing them in dungeons as rewards is seen as better than simply investing in the future. It is better to protect the present. After all, who else do we have but ourselves? Yes, of course, what he says makes perfect sense. It is no wonder that in dungeons built by humans, there are never any artifact rewards. Only in those mysterious wild dungeons can artifacts be obtained during a first exploration. Luo Chen sighed. On the other hand, the probability of finding an actual artifact is certainly zero. But an artifact skill scroll, well, there is at least a small chance for that. And so, he wants to take the risk. Perhaps he can turn the entire situation around. Rococo chuckled softly. Our little Chen really is quite incredible, isn't he? If he has such great ambitions, she is willing to be the sacred sword in his palm to drive away the darkness. I smell the sour stench of a budding romance between siblings. Please, try to follow the ancient ethics of beast taming. Humans are not supposed to have those kinds of relationships with beasts. At the very least, he shouldn't have provoked the Huok. Look how she's blushing. The netizens of this generation, why are they so slow to react? At that moment, a communication from outside the dungeon arrived. It broke the slightly depressed and awkward atmosphere that had settled over them. Well, look at that. It is the director of the first beast taming high school himself. Grandfather Su Zongyong. Luo Chan was a bit surprised. The call was coming from the mayor's office. Even the administrative staff couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. Hello, Luo Chun. I don't mean to interrupt you while you're conquering the dungeon, but there are two things. I must notify you urgently. Su Zongyong's kind face was filled with the sort of satisfaction one feels for the younger generation, and a good deal of affection, too. Chapter 23. Thank you for appearing. Luo Chen smiled. I see 7 parts joy in your expression, he noted, mixed with 3 parts worry. It must be a bit of great news and a little bad news, right? Please, speak plainly. You know I'm a player with a strong heart. Very well. The good news is that the number 3 school in the nation, Jiujin University, has sent a special envoy to contact our high school. There was a special admission offer. He would no longer need to take the Jade Beast exam. He could enter without any examination at all. Su Zongyong had waited 10 years for this. For 10 whole years, the top Jade Beast High School in Zonghai had never received a special admission slot from one of the elite Jade Beast universities. Who wouldn't be jealous? Good God, it was a dream come true. Jiujin University holds several legacies from the great Jade Beast masters. One can even obtain legendary skills simply by entering the school. It seems our Luo Chun is truly blessed with the protagonist's glow. An academic genius, he has truly developed himself. It is the best proof that studying pays off. Perhaps we are witnessing the rise of a new generation of God-level beast masters. Luo Qin's expression remained calm and non-committal. He simply offered a polite smile. Then I really must be grateful for the favor Jiujin University is showing me. Once I finish this dungeon, I'll return to the school so we can discuss the details. And what is the bad news, Director? Luo Ku interrupted, curious. Su Zongyong sighed with a hint of embarrassment. Someone is targeting you. What? It isn't you. I can trust once, but this is the fake one. Not Duo Gang edges the first place of Wuxian. Not Mia, Limina, also a lot of attention, a lot of it. I will not change an eye for the Trima experiment. Rococo looked on angrily at his academic achievements. Others were at a dead end, clearly wanting to ruin his reputation, yet he was still applauding them. Luo Qin shrugged, his face filled with amusement. He had been watching the drama unfold this entire time. To be honest, he had even considered hiring trolls himself. He wanted them to attack him fiercely online, but someone else had taken the initiative to pay for it. He hadn't spent a cent and reached his goal. Quite a bargain, really. Smiling at Su Zongyong and Rococo, he no longer refuted those who wanted to defame him. Seeing their confusion, Luo Chun explained calmly that from the very start, he never claimed to be the forefather or founder of Jade Beast Resurrection. He didn't want the academic glory. He just wanted to earn some tips through his livestream. If we think about it, Jade Beast Resurrection isn't something exaggerated by public opinion. Had he ever actually boasted about himself? He asked those who were still lost. And it was true. Everyone thought back and realized that, just as Luo Qin said, all the glory had been a unilateral wish imposed upon him by the netizens. But why wouldn't he want to accept it? It seemed like such a waste. As long as he was willing to give lectures on Jade Beast Resurrection at academic institutions worldwide, he would inevitably gain mountains of honor and money. There would be no need to serve a grassroots audience anymore. People were baffled, but Luo Chun smiled faintly with certainty. He only wanted to be a Jade Beast scholar. I want to become a god-level Jade Beast Master and reclaim our land with my own hands, perhaps even launching a counterattack on the Jade Beast planet itself. He spoke of emulating them, intending to establish a base for human colonies right there on their home turf. Instead of joining a research institution and dedicating his entire life to auxiliary logistics work, he simply shakes his head at the idea. On the contrary, he believes these slanders and defamations might actually help him break free from the overwhelming influence of Jade Beast Resurrection. It would allow him to focus his energy on what truly matters to him, conquering dungeons and cultivating his Jade Beasts. And so, Luo Chun clasps his hands together, expressing what appears to be his most sincere gratitude. I truly thank you for your slanders, he says. You are actually helping me quite a lot. Meanwhile, at the Dianao Hotel, Zhao Jingchen, Xiaofan Shou's old friend, watches the live stream on a brand new monitor with a dark, somber expression. It was clear that he had failed. That boy was proving to be far more insidious and cunning than they had anticipated. He knows, he mutters. He knows you're watching the stream, so he is deliberately trying to deceive you. If you withdraw the investment and tell the trolls to stop attacking the Black Tower, you will be falling directly into his trap. Zhao Jingchen sighs, looking rather embarrassed. I'm sorry, I've made another mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I shouldn't be this naive, and I know how to be flexible when dealing with important figures. It's just that, when I think about how I, a great beast tamer, am being humiliated by a mere brat, I get a little irritable. I understand, Xiaofan replies with a smile, raising a glass of vodka toward the guests. To him, Luo Chun is just a student. In fact, he isn't even worth the effort of swallowing one's pride. Every now and then, it's perfectly fine to just play dead and let things pass. If we have to worry about the useless people at the bottom of society, and if we always have to be so flexible, wouldn't we be wasting the lives we spent climbing to the top? Zhao Jingchen frowns, trying to follow the logic. Are you saying I should increase the efforts to defame him and give him exactly what he wants? Xiaofan simply smiles and notes that Luo Chun has made the fatal error common to all young men who label themselves geniuses. He sees him as a megalomaniac, someone who truly believes his own hype. To Xiaofan, the boy's talent for resurrecting beasts is nothing more than a stroke of luck. It is merely a small achievement in a bright life, and he assumes the boy thinks he will have endless opportunities to shine. Xiaofan swirls his glass with a bit more force, his expression growing thoughtful. He takes just a sip, knowing full well, as we all do once we reach middle age, how the world really works. The chance to truly change one's destiny usually appears only for a fleeting instant. And once that moment is lost, it rarely, if ever, offers a second chance in a lifetime. Zhao Jingchen nods in total agreement, clearly impressed by the sentiment. He complains to his old friend Xiao that the boy is deliberately acting against him. Refusing to let the brat have his way, he decides that later, he will instruct his secretary to take action. He plans to increase the investment by 50% and hire even more scholars specialized in the field. By openly questioning Luo Chen's beast-taming methods, he wants to see if the so-called patriarch of the Resurrection School can handle the pressure. He wonders if the boy will end up crying on his own livestream once his reputation is completely stripped away. We return now to the city of Hinchuan, a place still marked by the scars of past conflicts. Inside the mayor's office, the official purses her lips in concern as she watches the screen. She can't help but point out that if he continues speaking this way, his enemies will never back down. She asks him if he really thinks they would cancel their attacks, as no one could tolerate such defiance. It is a valid point. After all, who knows what those troublesome characters are plotting? They are likely watching the live stream at this very moment, waiting for any sign of weakness. She wonders if they would really back down now, as doing so would mean losing their entire investment. Luo Chun, however, isn't worried. He reminds her that he is already prepared for them to double down on their smear campaign. If his enemies were to cancel their plans, he notes with a shrug that he would simply find another way to keep the momentum going. Luo Chun flashes a smile, one that is, to be perfectly honest, entirely performative. He gives her a mysterious look and tells her not to worry, as he is certain no one can stop now. In his mind, it is practically impossible for them to cancel their orders at this stage. He suspects his defiance might even trigger a bit of reverse psychology, causing them to increase their investment. They want to slander him viciously because, as we know, the human heart is as unpredictable as they judge it to be. He suggests that if he were lying, perhaps he truly would be consumed by his own vanity. Deep down, he knows they believe he is desperate to be seen as the pioneer of the resurrection school. He calmly crosses his legs, giving everyone a look that dares them to keep guessing his next move. The official sighs, deciding that since he can clearly make his own decisions, she no longer needs to worry. Director Su Zongyong, watching the exchange, seems quite satisfied with how things are unfolding. He says his goodbyes and brings the communication to an end. Luo Chun then decides it's time to add fuel to the fire, suggesting they hire even more trolls to ramp up the defamation. The thought of more attacks against him makes him suddenly excited. He rubs his hands together with a playful, almost mischievous expression. We move now to chapter 24, where the live stream of the God of Fighting is about to take a turn. In the video of the Mad Warrior, we see a staggering 25 million viewers currently gathered in the live stream room. This massive audience is largely thanks to Huang Qinshan, who spent a fortune on advertising to help promote the event. Of course, we can't forget the hate traffic brought in by Zhao Yinshun, who paid a high price for trolls to spread his slander. Upon hearing this, our viewers, the water friends, immediately found their interest piqued. They wanted to know, who exactly is this person behind the Black Witch? Luo Chen simply shrugged, claiming he was nothing more than an ordinary student. He spoke of studying day and night, making use of every weekend and every winter and summer break. He painted a picture of himself secluded in a basement, researching how to revive Sister Coco. Where would he even get enemies? To be honest, it was just a slightly larger than usual invocation. He twisted his mouth into a look that was both significant and intentionally vague. That particular father and son duo, he noted, seemed to hate him to the very core. After all, just a few choice words from him had forced them to pay tens of millions in extra costs. We see the viewers immediately begin connecting the dots, recalling various pieces of evidence. Someone points out that Zhao Tianqi also started a live stream today, deliberately insulting him. It seems he wanted to use a diss to grab attention and generate some cheap interest. Trying to make a quick buck, they clearly remember those strange insinuations of his. They wonder if his presale is actually useful or just another trick. Apparently, Mr. Ku reprimanded him on the spot because of Luo Chun, causing him to surrender instantly. He must feel quite humiliated by the whole ordeal, wouldn't you agree? The word is that Zhao Jinshun is a man of very narrow-minded character. And just like that, every suspicion in the chat points directly toward Zhao Jinshun. Regarding Zhao Tianqi and his father, Luo Chun replied righteously that these were all just random guesses from the audience. He insisted that none of this had anything to do with the current stream. According to him, the water friends in the chat were simply spreading rumors. He pleaded with them not to escalate things, noting that he hadn't actually named anyone. He never explicitly said that Zhao Jinshun and Zhao Tianqi were playing dirty tricks. Personally, he claimed to believe they were chivalrous gentlemen whose moral light could illuminate a bathroom. They certainly wouldn't be the kind of villains to corner someone in a bathroom or talk behind their backs. But then, we see Luo Chen's style shift abruptly as he let out a cold snort. He pointed out that Zhao Tianqi had rushed into his live stream today specifically to mock him. There was a recording as proof, and since he had been provoked so openly, he felt he couldn't exactly hide away like a turtle in its shell, could he? He called his brothers to arms, telling them to watch how he used points and rankings to crush that idiot. He spoke with such aggression that the frustrated viewers immediately exploded with excitement. They agreed wholeheartedly, asking if he wasn't just the son of some giant beast tamer. They wanted to let that fool taste the power of a dozen reinforced skills from their keyboard pianist. It was time for battle, a total explosion directed right at Zhao Tianqi. To them, it was obvious he was a bully, gambling against others, insulting the immortal witch, and complaining about prices just to cause trouble. In an instant, the viewers in Zhao Tianqi's stream skyrocketed from a mere 300 to 23 million. These netizens didn't care one bit whether he was the son of a famous beast tamer or not. After all, as history often shows us, a crowd feels no individual responsibility for its actions. Could Zhao Jinshun really take revenge on every single person on the internet one by one? For a while, the comments on the screen went absolutely wild. And we see the netizens begin to hurl a barrage of insults at Zhao Tianqi. They mocked him, calling themselves divine-level beast tamers and demanding he kneel to welcome them. They taunted him, asking if he still had the nerve to wonder who they were. They told the haters to get out of the way, making it clear they were taking over. They sarcastically called him an SSS-level beast tamer, a super-evolved fool named Zhao Tianqi. They told him to hurry up and kneel, laughing at the crazy rumor that he intended to win $1 million from Luo Chun in the rookie dungeon. Then they asked him point-blank if he was even up to the task. Are you up to it? Are you up to it? The question echoed over and over in the chat. Zhao Tianqi was completely stupefied, instantly flooded by insults on his screen, and he roared with extreme indignation and fury at Luo Chun. He accused him of being bold enough to use his followers to attack him online. He threatened to sue him in court and file a formal complaint with Thousand Life. Luo Chun simply chuckled, finding the man's hypocrisy rather amusing, to be honest. He mentioned hearing that Zhao Tianqi's father owned the very company that seemed to lack any sense of decency. It was a chain of weapon stores, as it turned out. He remarked that it was no wonder the boy enjoyed being so unpleasant to everyone around him. He reminded him that it was he who had actively rushed into the live stream earlier that day to leave a provocative voice message. And yet, now his own passive visit was being labeled as cyberbullying. Zhao Tianqi tried to respond, but he found himself completely withered and speechless. In truth, he had been wrong to cross the immortal witch, Alice. Her expression was complex, but she could only pretend to be dead in silence. After all, her innate identity was quite awkward, to say the least. She had actively defected from the light, and hearing Luo Chen's voice, she would never dare to disobey him in public again. Humph, we really have found ourselves a live-streaming genius, we hear someone say. At the headquarters of the Tosin live-streaming company, Huang Qingchen laughed until she practically shook. Her distant personality collapsed instantly as she boasted triumphantly to several of her assistants. She reminded them that she had overcome all opposition when she decided to put up $150 million to sign Luo Chun. In her mind, this was truly the wisest and most brilliant decision since she founded the company. And we see why, as the number of viewers had skyrocketed once again to 25 million. It was setting a record for the platform, the best data they had ever seen. While she was speaking, Huang Qingchen decided to dial a number. Her best friend, who was like a sister to her, had even threatened that her Fight God stream would close by year's end. She had predicted a bankruptcy liquidation. Unlike that rundown video platform, she managed herself. Hello, a languid and fascinating voice asked with a hint of anger, sounding as if she had just woken up. Huang Qingchen, I am currently taking my beauty nap, the voice complained. What is wrong with you? You're bothering me on purpose, aren't you? Oh, and Ziline, you Jade beauty, Huang Qingchen replied playfully. She teased her, saying that just because Fashion Beauty magazine chose her as a cover girl, she already thought herself a masterpiece. Huang Qingchen looked upon her friend with a playful sense of disdain. She noted that they had asked her 3 times already, and she had refused every single one. Otherwise, it would have been your turn. On the other end of the line was her old university friend. They had been roommates for 4 years, making them very close indeed. She was none other than the president of the Zhonghuan video platform, and Ziline. And we hear Ziline give a charming, confident smile. I'm not just a cover girl, she noted. I was also selected by them as the star of the year. She was referring to the magazine's list of the 20 most beautiful women in Asia. She had been ranked right alongside a group of superstars and queens. Oh, please, Huang replied. The magazine just wanted to flatter you to get resources from your platform. Yes, I can practically see your extremely bitter face right now. Little Phoenix, anyway, you can call me whatever you like. After that playful declaration, Ziline got straight to the point, asking if it was urgent. Huang Qingchen smiled smugly, crossed her long, slender legs, and shared Luo Chen's live-streaming data with her. Look, in only his second stream, there are already 25 million viewers online simultaneously. She pointed out that there were even many foreign viewers watching the stream with translators. Our Fight God live stream is very much alive and well, she boasted. But word is that traffic on your Zhonghuan videos has dropped drastically and results are down. Huang Qingchen continued to tease her friend with full force, being the best kind of worst friend. And Ziline, however, became quite thoughtful at the mention of those numbers. Oh, Luo Chun, right? The full video of his resurrection stream on our platform already has 14 million views. Wait, she realized, the live broadcasting rights are linked to your Tosin stream. What about the rights for the short-form videos? She asked, getting straight to business. We at Zhonghuan Videos are also more than willing to pay a very high price for them. An exclusive video premiere. Yes, she was essentially trying to steal a deal from her best friend. And Ziline, have you no shame? Huang laughed. You're hiding him away like he's some hidden treasure. Is he perhaps your little boyfriend? Come now, we are best friends, aren't we? She teased that even if he were her boyfriend, surely he was someone they could share. Huang Qingchen heard Ziline let out a soft, playful laugh on the other end. Her voice was smoky, smooth, and just a little bit poisonous, utterly enchanting, really. I am, after all, one of the 20 most beautiful women in all of Asia, and Ziline reminded her. Just watch how I use my charms to conquer this boyfriend of yours. She chuckled softly as the screen's brightness began to fade into the next scene. We see that Huang Qingqian's usual calm had been slightly rattled by the banter. She felt a bit dejected in that moment, though she tried not to let it bother her. After all, having Luo Chen sign with her best friend's platform, Zhonghuan Videos, made sense. Managing live streams and video content simultaneously is the standard for most influencers these days. It was mutually beneficial, and while she had reached out to bridge the gap, the idea of sharing Luo Chen felt strange. She shook her head quickly to dismiss those unnecessary emotions. And so, the beautiful president went back to watching Luo Chen's live broadcast. She thought of Zhao Tianqi. Hadn't he mocked her for taking the last spot and being on the verge of elimination? Since their relationship was already ruined, she saw no harm in trying to provoke him a little. Why not hire some mercenaries to smear me? She thought, hoping he'd intensify his efforts, as Luo Chen also showed an aggressive edge. What is your ranking now? Speak up, my viewers can't hear you, he challenged, his voice dripping with confidence. Zhao Tianqi was left stunned. With the strength of the immortal witch, he usually holds the 13th spot in the country. Which, to be perfectly honest, is a rather boastful achievement under any other circumstances. But everything is relative, and since Luo Chen has been breaking records and sitting in first place, the comparison was brutal. His results simply didn't measure up to the new standard being set before our eyes. I am 13th, even if it's not as good as what we see on the screen, he muttered defensively. But just as Zhao Tianqi was about to continue his response, he was cut off entirely. Shut up, loser, Luo Chen said, maintaining his usual wisdom and poise, which was quite subversive in this moment. He extended his right index finger, then sharply and repeatedly pointed his middle finger toward Zhao Tianqi. The finger seemed to cross the screen itself, landing right on Zhao Tianqi's forehead, metaphorically speaking, of course. I'm going to tell you a joke from the 4 great classics, Luo Chen continued with a smirk. With these 19 or 18 blows, he turns 10,000 into a camel, a classic reference used to mock his opponent. Cursing and grumbling, he called him a pig who couldn't even break into the top few hundred. But you're not a pig found in this world. Do you really dare to argue with me, Tiangang? Come on. Do you truly believe you are on my level? He asked with a mocking laugh. Shut up, you stupid pig, he added, and we see Zhao Tianqi's face begin to transform. His skin turned as red as liver, and honestly, it was quite a satisfying sight to behold. It turns out that Luo Chen also knows how to use memes and classic tropes when he's insulting people. This time he really knows how to play the game, using this little story, the illusion, and the satire perfectly. It's truly brilliant, and we see the professor is left completely speechless by the display. Zhao Tianqi finally realizes that, until now, people simply hadn't bothered to pay him any attention. He had assumed Luo Chen was a gentleman who would never stoop to the level of petty insults. Now he understands that if Luo Chen ever traded his sword for a pen, he'd be a literary giant of satire. Luo Chen offers a faint, knowing smile and asks, who exactly is the sick one here? His philosophy is simple. If he isn't attacked, he won't attack. Usually, he's just too lazy to bother with insults. But once the battle truly begins, he wants to teach Zhao Tianqi, that stupid pig, one simple truth. Even in the long run, he is far better at fighting than any common hooligan. With a cold snort, Luo Chen continues his verbal assault. He wonders aloud who is truly the weak one, as he has never felt stronger. 7 years ago, his parents sacrificed themselves, leaving him an orphan to face the world alone. He reflects on how many thugs and scoundrels have tried to break him over the years. Society is treacherous, and though he has walked a long road, he has never let himself suffer. He asks young Master Zhao if he really thinks he lacks his own share of sinister tricks and cunning. It was well said. Whoever is watching feels the thrill and euphoria of the moment. Being called a stupid pig repeatedly provoked Zhao Tianqi so much that he was practically fuming from every pore. Zhao Tianqi stammered, becoming utterly incoherent with rage. He tried to argue that he wasn't some weakling or someone outside the top 100. I am ranked 13th in the nation, he cried, while Luo Chen just smiled with cold contempt. You keep denying it, Luo Chen noted, so I'll just have to strip away the rest of your dignity. Luo Chen observes that Zhao is now starting to act as if he were the one being deeply wronged. He asks if he's trying to play the victim, hoping to give the public the impression that Luo Chen is simply bullying the weak. But he offers no sympathy, reminding Zhao Tianqi that the internet has a very long memory. He points out his clumsy performance from earlier that morning, specifically at 10 hours, 3 minutes, and 28 seconds, when he boasted to his livestream viewers. Or perhaps he was too busy obsessing over that expert-level elixir his father, Zhao Jinshun, had gifted him. With a ruthless sneer, Luo Chen opens a short video showing his Crimson Angel consecutively consuming the Master Angel Rebirth elixir. In comparison, we see that a mere expert-level elixir simply doesn't measure up. It seems Zhao Tianqi's own clownish behavior has become a source of amusement, even for himself. To be honest, Luo Chen has no idea where this supposed sense of superiority even comes from. His words are biting, striking directly at the heart of his opponent's fragile ego. He asks how someone like him could ever dare to call himself a prodigy. he brings up that S-rank summoning beast Zhao is so incredibly proud of. Luo Chen notes that he studied diligently for 12 years to become the top student in the country, and then, leveraging the elite status that his hard work had earned him, along with his certifications as an expert in demonic and illusory beasts, he gained an edge in summoning success. That was how he finally summoned the S-rank immortal witch through his own merit. Luo Chen asks rhetorically what exactly Zhao has done to earn his own position. It isn't because of his own power, but simply because his father is a prominent beast tamer. With extreme contempt, he ridicules the boy for relying on his father's stinking money to get ahead. And yet, he still tries to act superior to a student who actually earned the top spot. Do you have even a shred of shame? Luo Chen asks, pointing directly at the cornered Zhao Tianqi and his summoned beast. He reminds him that while Zhao's beast was a gift from his father, his own was snatched back from the jaws of death. He had to fight for it, using every single cent of the savings he had painstakingly accumulated over 7 long years. We learn it was approximately 500 million, an astronomical sum, and every bit of it earned through his own hard work. He calls Zhao Tianqi utterly shameless for even daring to boast in front of him. He points out that Zhao is only ranked 13th in the country because his father dropped 120 million at an auction. Without his father's money to buy high-level elixirs, he wonders if Zhao would even be among the top 100. It was a question designed to wound, and it hits its mark. Zhao Tianqi is visibly overcome with shame. With tears beginning to roll down his cheeks, the once arrogant boy desperately tells the immortal witch he doesn't want any more money. And so, we see the wealthy young giant reduced to tears, cowering under the weight of Luo Chen's pointing finger. At this point, Zhao Jinshan finally loses his cool, his fatherly instincts overriding any sense of professional restraint. He makes a sudden appearance, lashing out with a message that flashes across the screen for everyone to see. Luo Chen, stop this instant, he demands. Do you have a death wish? But Luo Chen, knowing he has the moral high ground, isn't intimidated and calls the famous beast tamer a shameless old man. He asks why the man encouraged his son to cause trouble, yet refuses to let others defend themselves. He admits that owning a giant Vaiman beast is certainly impressive in its own way, but to think he can silence people on the internet is, to be perfectly honest, a bit delusional. Old man, get lost, he scoffs, inviting the entire audience to witness the spectacle. Imagine the scene, a world-famous beast tamer stooping so low as to threaten a mere apprentice. Any shred of dignity he had is gone, and the war of words only intensifies now that the giant beast tamer has entered the fray. It seems Zhao Jinshan and Zhao Tianqi truly deserve to be father and son. Both of them are far too accustomed to being arrogant, as we have clearly seen. He immediately began threatening the netizens, which was a bold move, to say the least. He claimed to have memorized their IDs and promised to deal with them in a moment. He threatened to go to the God of Battle livestream officials to demand their real name authentication info. Since they were being so loud, he told them to wait for him to visit them one by one. But then, a voice scoffs. How dare a mere giant beast tamer make such irresponsible comments on the refined Jade Phoenix platform? Huang Qingchen immediately intervened in the battlefield, shifting the entire dynamic. She had originally been observing Luo Chen's livestream statistics over the last 24 hours. She was busy preparing to customize a commercial plan just for him. And so we move to Chapter 26, titled Double Protection, where things escalate for Zhao Jinshan. The refined Jade Phoenix is one of the oldest Jade Beast families since the national era began. In fact, she is a demigod Jade Beast Tamer, a title that carries immense weight. She can give orders that no one ignores. Meanwhile, an expressionless Zhao Jinshan grabbed a porcelain pen holder. He smashed it with force, his earlier arrogance toward the netizens vanishing under the threat of the refined Jade Phoenix. He roared like a beast, his frustration boiling over in a moment of pure rage. The eyes of the man in charge, Yushi, glared fiercely as he considered the current situation. Barely a second later, he forced a chilling smile back onto his face. He sent a voice message, sounding strangely calm given the circumstances. He claimed he was only joking with the netizens. A likely story, wouldn't you agree? Huang Qingchen snorted coldly, far too lazy to waste her breath on an argument. She had absolutely no interest in engaging with such a well-known petty villain. At that moment, Hozai Jin, the dragon tamer, appeared and left a comment that required no further explanation. He made a formal announcement, speaking with all the authority of a dragon tamer. From this moment forward, he was officially offering his protection to Luo Chen. He warned that if anything happened to the boy, he would ride his dragons to seek vengeance. It was a matter of protecting those precious, private fragments of divine manifestation and longevity. Zhao Yingshan's face turned pale as he smashed another wine glass in a fit of pure rage. Infuriated, he sent a voice message to the dragon tamer, desperately trying to sow discord. He argued that Luo Chen hadn't even opened the door to the study of divine resurrection yet. In his view, the boy was simply deceiving everyone and wasting their time. He pointed out that many scholars of divine manifestation had already tried to replicate the resurrection experiment, and yet, without a single exception, every one of them had failed miserably. Hosai Jin simply shared the live recording of his young friend, Luo Chun, resurrecting Lack. He admitted to watching it repeatedly, finding it to be full of genuine wit and creativity. To him, it was a perfect blend of deep scholarship and raw, natural genius. In the hearts of many, the boy had already become an undisputed pioneer. He believed that if anyone could resurrect his beloved chimera, it was Luo Chun, not Zhao Yingxin. Luo Chun felt quite helpless as he greeted his predecessor, unsure of how to handle the praise. He realized he had finally shed his old identity to become a pioneer in the study of divine resurrection. Luo Chun pleaded with him, asking the man not to help him become famous. He truly had no desire for fame, nor did he feel any need for such empty titles. Hosai Jin was left momentarily speechless, before reminding him seriously that being a pioneer of a school meant being etched into history. He warned that if he let this chance for world-class fame slip away, he might never get a second opportunity in his entire life. Luo Chun simply shrugged his shoulders. After all, this identity was already impossible to shake off. In the future, he would only need to complete one more feat of divine resurrection to remain the undisputed pioneer. No one could touch his position, so he simply thanked the man for his protection. With President Huang Qingshan protecting him as well, he felt he could finally walk with his head held high. He smiled cleverly, though deep down he felt the weight of the favor he now owed the dragon tamer. He knew he couldn't exploit that kindness forever. He had to show results that would reignite hope in the field of divine resurrection. And so, to keep the relationship harmonious, the night's farce came to an abrupt end once the dragon tamer made his presence known. Zhao Yingxin and Zhao Tianqi, father and son, were left defeated, hanging their heads before a mere dragon apprentice. As the dragon tamer pointed his finger and insulted them, they found themselves unable to talk back, simmering in frustration and suppressed rage. But they had no choice but to remain silent and endure it, which, naturally, was the only sensible thing to do. Once everyone had finally departed, Zhao Tianqi offered a cautious apology to his father. He admitted it was all his fault and that he never should have provoked the boy on his own. That Luo Chun, he realized, was proving to be a truly difficult bone to pick. Zhao Yingxin sighed, telling his son it wasn't his fault, as he himself had acted out of spite from the very beginning. He had threatened the boy with words and made an enemy of him right from the start. It was he who had used his armies of trolls to try and ruin the boy's reputation in the academic world. Having reached this point, Zhao Jinshin came to a drastic decision. He told his son there was no longer any need for self-reflection or analysis. What they had to do next was completely eradicate the threat of Luo Chun while he was still in his cradle. The boy already had the support of the Phoenix family and the favor of Ho Shiying, the cursed sorcerer, and his bookie. If he were truly allowed to grow, given the hostility he showed tonight, their heads would eventually be on the chopping block. He planned to continue the defamation of Luo Chun, and looking at his son, he offered a bit of comfort. He told him not to be discouraged, as he actually had some very good news. He had just arranged with Xiao Fun, the admissions director at Dijin University, to transfer Luo Chen's special admission spot into his son's name. Zhao Tianqi burst into laughter instantly, his frustration vanishing as he felt a secret sense of smug satisfaction. He thought to himself that no matter how outstanding Luo Chun was, it would all be for nothing. His wish was now his, and his special admission spot belonged to him as well. In his mind, every single one of the boy's opportunities had been snatched away, which, to be honest, was a rather cruel turn of events. At that same moment, we returned to Luo Chen's live broadcast room. He announced to his viewers that the job was finally finished. Luo Chun suppressed a slight smile, feeling that all the effort had not been in vain. He had utilized every secret technique he had learned in his life to make this happen. He knew that Zhao Tianqi's reputation had been completely humiliated. It was as if his most precious possession had been snatched away right in front of 30 million spectators. The little girl, looking just like a doll, spoke up with great anticipation, sensing that the real moment had arrived. Deep down, he knew the father and son of the Zhao family would likely double their attacks against him now. He mused that his reputation as the forefather of pre-sale resurrection studies would soon be a thing of the past. He felt he should be able to shed that label shortly, though, as he realized, he had almost forgotten something important. That was his true purpose, after all, and he wondered who would actually have the nerve to tell the truth. Seeing her in Zhao Tianqi's live broadcast room had been quite the spectacle. Hurling insults like a common street vendor was certainly entertaining, even if it was a bit damaging to her image. Huang Qingshan took the initiative to bring this up, looking directly at Luo Chun. She suggested that he really ought to argue with people less often in the future, because whether he won or lost, both he and Zhao Tianqi would simply be labeled as vulgar. Luo Chun simply smiled, knowing that this, too, was all part of his plan. As everyone else took a sharp breath, Luo Chun merely shrugged his shoulders with total calm. It is, after all, quite difficult to associate a vulgar internet troll with a distant academic genius. And that was the point. Huang Qingshan was perceptive enough to realize he was intentionally defaming himself. She recalled how Wang Jian, the famous general who unified the 7 kingdoms of Yin, always made requests of Yinzhen after a victory. He would pretend to be a greedy man to ruin his own reputation, ensuring the emperor never saw him as a threat. Similarly, the general of the Sacred Hall, Wu Zi, used his military exploits to trade for beautiful women. By creating the persona of a womanizer to defame himself, he managed to live out his days in peace. Luo Chun noted that she was quite the little intellectual, seeing through things with such clarity. The others were left confused, wondering who these people were and what they were even talking about. They questioned if it was Enegan or perhaps the hall they were discussing. It seemed to be a story from the old era, a far cry from their current 9th year. We see that the general education courses only cover the history of the beast domestication era for everyone. The old era is no longer mentioned, which, in reality, is quite a shame. Luo Chun looked at Huang Qinshun with new eyes, wondering what exactly was going on with this remarkable human being. He told her that the beautiful president was truly doing him an injustice with her assumptions. He admitted he originally thought she was just a pure woman, blessed with a great figure but lacking a brain. She snorted coldly, putting on a pretty face and mockingly saying she wouldn't dare claim such a thing. Luo Chun smiled shyly and said with total sincerity that it was simply what he had first thought. Meanwhile, the live streaming platform Generixia is currently teetering on the edge of collapse. It is very likely, he noted, that she is someone who only knows how to tame beasts and isn't good at management. As for the battle-type Valkyrie warrior, everyone began to wonder who she could possibly be. Our collective attention is quite peculiar. After searching for her beautiful photos online, the comments section unified. The brothers in the chat were stunned, claiming her photos were truly impressive, huge, in every sense of the word. One fan even apologized to Luo Chun, declaring that from now on, his loyalty had shifted. He was now a devoted fan of President Huang Qinshun. As we move into Chapter 27, the news of the divine resurrection was shocking, to say the least. Dowson Live Streaming decided they would pull out all their high-quality resources for this. They promised to support him with all their might to make him one of the 10 most popular streamers on the entire network. This year, they didn't forget to paint a grand picture, enthusiastically preparing the ground for Luo Chun. The message was simple: just stream well, as long as you attract plenty of traffic to our platform. They assured him he would be satisfied, even going so far as to recommend that he join them officially. They even suggested he join the Purgatory Phoenix family as a dedicated follower. There is also another possibility. You know, I have several cousins around your age who are quite the standard beauties. Luo KK subtly rolled her eyes at that, and to be honest, her meaning was perfectly obvious. I told you, joining the Phoenix of Burning Desire as a son-in-law isn't just a dream. After finally closing the live stream, Luo Chun felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He took a quick look at the background data and sighed to Luo KK about the world of streaming. It is, in fact, a very effective shortcut for making some quick money. Just look at the results after he deliberately steered the broadcast. With the battle involving Zhao Tianqi and Zhao Jinshun, and in only 2 hours at that, the total amount of rewards reached the terrifying figure of 13 million. Luo KK was left completely dumbfounded and utterly speechless by the news. She realized that in all her years working hard as a bounty hunter with his mother, she never saved that much. Luo Chun, naturally, didn't dare suggest that his mother simply lacked a bit of business vision. He could only offer a smile and quickly decided to change the subject. Earning money is merely a means to an end on the path to becoming a divine beast master. Don't let it go to your head. Now, we must turn our attention to more serious matters. She clapped her hands together and gathered all the administrative staff from the city hall. Gather around, everyone, as I have 2 important things to announce today. One is public and the other is private. Please, give us your orders, Mr. Mayor. We return to Luo Chen's lineage, back when he competed in 9 episodes and everyone involved was laying eggs. And he had already eliminated the corrupt officials left behind by the former mayor. Their hearts were now his. Besides, since they had consecutively killed the Wasp Demon Wolf King and achieved impressive feats with the Phantom Shadow Bag, his prestige was, for a time, incomparable. This led every soldier and civilian in the isolated city of Hinchuan to find their central pillar. It could be said that Luo Chun had truly become the man in charge. He held all the power and could utilize every resource the city had to offer. First, let's discuss private matters, Luo Chun said, putting an end to the idle chatter. He asked quite seriously if, should he successfully resist the demonic beast invasion and defend the safety of all residents, he might see that definitive list of hidden rewards. Could he see it a bit earlier? Everyone looked at one another, but after only a moment, the former mayor's secretary, Gong Gong, silently pulled out a key. He handed it to Luo Chun, noting that by the rules, he only had the right to check the list after the first victory, but since he was the savior of the city, things were different. All rules, it seemed, should yield to him. That list was kept safely inside the vault in the mayor's office. Please, open it yourself, the secretary said, being very helpful indeed. He proactively moved a portrait from the wall and inserted the key. With a turn, the vault door swung open, revealing a pile of items. He handed Luo Chun the glowing longevity stones and an ancient, weathered supply list. Those longevity stones, as it turned out, were also part of his reward. Please, accept them with a smile, the secretary said, offering the stones. He presented them with the utmost respect, as if offering a crown to a king. As for the list, he continued, we have unlocked it for you ahead of schedule. He explained that while Luo Chun could see the contents, they couldn't actually redeem the items just yet. He would have to wait 7 days for the rewards to truly become available, a small price to pay, really. Fine, please, wait a moment, Luo Chun replied, his mind already elsewhere. I also need to discuss tomorrow's main counterattack against the demonic beast tied with all of you. We see Luo Chun rub his eyebrows as he begins to leaf through that definitive list. He rubs his temples, scanning the pages, just testing the waters with a quick glance. But suddenly, his eyes seemed glued to the paper, completely unable to move. A fire began to burn in his heart. Sister Kiki, look at this, he urged. His voice grew sharp and his hands trembled as he pointed directly at the third line of rewards. Look, Luo Chun, she whispered, we absolutely must get our hands on this. Kiki's breathing also became extremely agitated as she realized what they were looking at. Luo Chun's voice shook and his heart pounded, for he was looking at something truly legendary. It was an item that would cause a worldwide sensation, a god-level skill scroll, the sacred resurrection technique. The effect of the skill was simple, yet profound, resurrection. There were restrictions, of course. The body of the target to be resurrected had to be complete. Or, at the very least, the soul had to be intact. The cooldown would depend on that very integrity. Depending on the state of the body and the time since death, the cooldown could vary from 5 minutes to 30 days. The exchange conditions were steep, an evaluation score of 1,300 points. Since the dawn of the beast-taming era, a scroll like this has never actually appeared, has it? We see Luo Chen's eyes shining with an extraordinarily complex light as he stares at the text. He tells Kiki that if she masters this skill, he might truly become something legendary. He would be the pioneer of beast resurrection, a title that carries immense weight. In that moment, they realized they wouldn't need complex academic plans anymore. A single follow-up skill cooldown could complete the miracle of bringing a beast back to life. This sacred resurrection technique is enough to change his life trajectory and that of LAC forever. But there was the matter of that requirement, 1,300 evaluation points. Kiki's eyelashes trembled slightly as the weight of that number sank in. She whispered that even if they gave their absolute best, such a high score seemed impossible. And she was right, at least based on their current rate of earning points. The total score they could expect at the final settlement was only 900 points. Therefore, a massive counteroffensive was no longer just an option, it was inevitable. Luo Chun crossed his fingers, an unprecedented fighting spirit surging deep within his chest. To improve the dungeon rating, they would need to achieve something far beyond the ordinary. True completion lies in ending the demonic beast invasion in this devastated land. It resides in the duty to protect the people and slaughter the demonic beasts. Luo Chen's finger tapped the electronic map on the mayor's desk, signaling where they must begin. Just outside the city walls, there are a total of 4 magical beast nests waiting for them. 80% of the monsters plaguing this area originate from those very nests. Luo Chen speaks with a sudden surge of enthusiasm, his ambition clearly growing. He reminds LAC that today, wielding the Archangel's sword, she successfully slew the demonic Wind Wolf King, and the Ghost Panther Queen as well, both of whom came from nest number 3, to be precise. With her golden eyes burning with a newfound fervor for battle, LAC listens as he explains they only need to conquer the 3 remaining nests over the next 5 days. By completely ending the magical beast siege on Hinchuan City, they could earn an additional 100 points. But that wasn't all. We see Luo Chen pull up a specific piece of information from the virtual panel. He shows LAC the Long War reference news, specifically the incident file regarding Hinchuan City. The report notes that while the country is shattered, the mountains and rivers still remain. They had fought bloodily for 7 days in Hinchuan City, finally reclaiming the lost territory. The glory of the hunters is, of course, quite moving, and yet, something doesn't add up. We have to wonder, why exactly did the magical beast siege begin in Hinchuan City in the first place? The 13 nearby cities, after all, remained entirely unharmed. Why was it that only Hinchuan City found itself so deeply besieged? The answer lies in the corrupt mayor of Hinchuan, who has since been executed by firing squad. After an investigation, it was confirmed that he accepted bribes from a human organization known as the Four Saints sect. He deliberately allowed the magical beast nests to develop and the city's floods to worsen. He even went so far as to proactively contact dark web traffickers, throwing a vast number of refugees into the nests. All of this was done for the sake of hatching magical beast eggs, a truly grim revelation. LAC was left utterly shocked, her heart filled with an extreme sense of indignation. Humans? Do they really dare to use living people to feed those magical beasts? Liu Ken shook his head and told her that the past is the past, and there is no need to worry about it now. What he really wanted to point out was a specific detail hidden within the information. According to the records, there are a vast number of human refugees trapped inside those magical beast nests. We must remember that the beginner dungeon we are experiencing is created entirely based on the history of Longhua. Suddenly, LAC understood his point, realizing there was more to their mission than simple combat. Protecting all the citizens of Hinchuan City would only be the baseline for their success. That would merely result in a 100% completion rate for the dungeon. But if they could manage to rescue a large number of refugees, then their completion rate would soar. It could reach as high as 110 or even 120%. And that, as it turns out, is the true source of those elusive additional points. Chapter 28. The Ambitions of 12 Billion Angels. Bingo. He told her she was truly intelligent for catching on so quickly. Lu Ken gave a slight smile, noting that since they had eliminated that mayor, Luoluo, and obtained maximum authority, they had directly recruited all the city's reserve warriors. Furthermore, they hadn't sacrificed a single soldier yet, which is quite an achievement, really. Their current forces consisted of 10,000 active warriors and 10,000 reserve beast soldiers. That made them twice as strong as any other sword cultivators or beast tamers in the area. With such an overwhelming advantage, he felt the confidence needed for a formal expedition against the 4 demonic beasts. He clenched his right fist tightly, determined to finally obtain the sacred resurrection technique for his sister. Once you absorb it, your strength will undergo a truly tremendous qualitative change. Give it to me. Rococo perked up, looking at Lu Ken with a look of pure disbelief. Of course, after all, you are my only summoned beast at this moment. Besides, you are my destiny beast, with a compatibility rate of 200%. You are my family, he told her, offering a quiet, wordless smile. Furthermore, the resurrection technique is obviously a perfect match for you angels. If you are the one to learn it, you will surely achieve double the results. On this first day of the session, the Spirit Force Master, Rococo, found herself quite speechless. She was lost for words, insisting that she simply couldn't accept it. If he kept it to auction it off, its value would never be less than $100 billion. Lu Ken gently took one of her bird-like arms and intertwined his fingers with hers. Sister, how could money ever measure what you truly mean to me? A delicate blush stained her white neck, the color spreading like a soft red halo. Her beautiful eyes grew somewhat hazy, and her mind went completely blank. Lu Ken didn't notice her expression. Instead, he simply stood up and prepared himself. He was focused on the future, unaware of the effect his words were having on her in that moment. He saw her as the strongest 12-winged angel in all of history. He vowed to help her ascend to divinity and finally reclaim the throne of the Seraphim. Standing before his office window, he looked out at the lights of thousands of homes in Hinchuan City. One day, sister, we will stand shoulder to shoulder at the very peak of the beast-taming era. In that moment, Lu Chen's dark eyes grew as deep and inscrutable as ink. He swore with lightning-fast resolve that he would reopen the cold case from May 4, 2230. He intended to fully investigate the inner workings of the Zonghai City Defense Station and stir up a real storm. His parents, Rococo, and the countless martyrs could not be allowed to have sacrificed themselves in vain. Rococo grew pale, unable to stop herself from asking if he truly meant what she thought. Deep down, he was certain that the war breaking out back then had been no mere coincidence. Lu Ken placed a finger to her red lips, signaling for silence as he faintly recalled the past. For now, their strength and influence were still far too weak to revive such old, dangerous matters. He asked his sister if she would help him, and she gave a soft, affirmative hum. Rococo accepted everything with a gaze as firm as steel, clearly ready to risk it all. It was an unyielding promise, a vow to face even death without regret when the day finally came. At dawn, every participant in the rookie dungeon received a sudden message from the system. We learned that 70% of the Jade Tamers have already been eliminated. The demonic beast siege was about to intensify, and all survivors would receive a minimum of 50 points. It was a grim realization. 70% of the Tamers were simply finished. We returned to Lu Chen's live broadcast room to see how he is faring. The viewers found it hard to believe because, so far, not a single soldier in his dungeon had fallen. This was only natural, as the beasts couldn't even get within 10 meters of Hinchuan City's walls. They were all cut down by gunfire. Though their hides repel metal, they certainly aren't immune to bullets. Under the cover of such an absolutely crushing network of firepower, they would inevitably succumb. Lu Chen's fallen angel is truly incredible, someone commented in the chat. Its sacred light can actually strip away the metal-repelling hide of those demonic beasts, which, naturally, leaves them completely vulnerable to a hail of bullets. It's not just that the angel is powerful, haven't you all noticed? Another viewer asked. Lu Chen's army is twice the size of any other Jade Tamers, someone else added. He used his authority as mayor to recruit every volunteer soldier available, which was a clever move. This was all planned. It's impossible that this was just a flash of inspiration, as Lu Ken has likely prepared for this dungeon for years. He had already taken into account the level 7 authority that Rococo possesses. This is what we call foresight, and while most feel a mix of envy and admiration, we should probably try to learn from him. As the third day of the demonic beast siege began, Lu Ken dragged out 4 stools while Rococo carried a table. 2 of the mayor's secretaries followed behind serving tea and water as the group appeared on the city walls. Let's play, let's play. Today we have a grand battle of 300 rounds ahead of us. Liu Kin nodded, and the netizens were filled with expectations for the spectacle about to unfold. A grand battle today? Surely that means slaughtering magical beasts, right? Before they could even finish typing their comments, they saw that the table Rococo set up was actually a fully automatic mahjong table. With somber expressions, the mayor's secretaries began shuffling and dealing the tiles, setting up the game instantly. A game for 4 people, to eat, to bump, to steal, the classic moves of the game. He made a move, and soon the table was full of tiles. It was a serious match of Wuxi Bujuan. The netizens were baffled. Wait, does your grand battle of 300 rounds actually refer to mahjong? No, surely not. Are they really going to play mahjong in the middle of a siege? Who exactly is going to deal with the magical beasts? He is shamelessly slacking off, and it's so scandalous that everyone is left utterly speechless. They couldn't help but spend money to send voice messages, furiously scolding Liu Kin for being so lazy, though Liu Kin only smiled. While playing mahjong, he casually explained that from this 100-meter stretch of the city wall, there wasn't a single soul to be seen. Are the magical beasts surrounding the city the ones who are actually slacking off? Haven't you noticed? He asked, gesturing toward the area beneath the city wall. There are only a couple of stray beasts down there, and they can't even get within 100 meters of the wall like this. The audience looked down from the battlements, and to their surprise, they really couldn't find a single magical beast in sight. His style in this dungeon is completely different from that of any other Jade tamer we've seen. The audience couldn't help but sigh, left entirely without words by the absurdity of it all. Others are fighting like madmen, killing until blood flows like rivers. Yet here he is, calmly playing mahjong. So bored that he's resorted to tiles, Liu Kin spread his hands innocently. There was simply nothing else to be done. This is what we call the snowball effect. While other tamers defend their cities, their soldiers suffer continuous losses. Their city walls are gradually damaged, and their forces are pushed to the limit, eventually running out of strength altogether. And so they appear evenly matched, locked in an inseparable struggle. But what about our mayor? He used his full authority as mayor to summon twice the number of soldiers as anyone else. His terrifying firepower easily suppressed the beasts, and he even activated a war economy, letting private companies produce at full capacity. Because he focused on the front lines, his ammunition depots are now completely full. Liu Kin made a small face, noting that, well, his military strength had essentially doubled. But as his reserves skyrocket, the magical beasts are suffering massive casualties. Between this decline and his growth, the combat power of the two sides has become completely unbalanced. Now, all I can do is wander around and relax, he noted, looking toward the demon fairy with a slight smile. In this ancient game, the banker takes it all, or so he told his viewers, his so-called friends of the water. The audience fell silent. They truly wanted to criticize Luo Chun for neglecting his duties, but there was a problem. We only need to take a quick look at the national rankings for the number of enemies slain to see why. Luo Chun stands at the top with 39,770 magical beasts defeated. In comparison, Nangong Hai has 4,228, followed by Xiao Yanyu. She has 4,216, while in 9th place, Yubu Xian has 3,723. Tied for 10th is Zhao Tianqi with 3,723, though his score quickly flickers to 34. It ticks up again to 37, then stalls. And here, in Chapter 29, the gap becomes truly absurd. With the power of an arrow that breaks 10,000 demons, the number of enemies Luo Chun has eliminated is staggering. To be perfectly honest, his score is higher than the sum of the 2nd through 9th places combined. Faced with such numbers, how could anyone possibly criticize him for relaxing and playing mahjong? The viewers were left utterly stupefied, unable to find a single word of protest, so they simply chose to stay quiet. Didn't you say you were preparing to launch a counterattack against the beasts besieging the city? Someone asked. Huang Qingchen also found the situation dull and sent a barrage of comments demanding an explanation. Luo Chun felt he had to respond. After all, she is his boss and protector, the lady president herself. I am currently preparing for the great counterattack, he replied, though it sounded more like a question. He claimed playing mahjong was part of the plan, which left Huang Qingchen surprised enough to ask a rhetorical question. Do you really think I'm that easy to fool? She asked. Naturally, she was not. President Huang is a phoenix among people, he replied smoothly. How would I ever dare to deceive her? Was he just a simple worker on her platform? Luo Chun rubbed his hands together in a most flattering manner. But I am definitely preparing for the counterattack, he insisted, sounding quite convinced of himself. He pointed out that he had replaced every single soldier on guard duty along the city walls. They had been moved to the reserve, allowing the soldiers to finally rest and recover their strength. So, the answer is already obvious, isn't it, Huang Qingchen? He asked with a grin. Deep down, she really wanted to ask exactly what part of this was supposed to be obvious. Even though Luo Chun had explained quite a bit, to be honest, she didn't understand a single thing, but she had her dignity as a boss to maintain. Fine, I see, she replied, nodding along as if it all made perfect sense. Huang Qingchen pretended to have a deep understanding of the strategy, nodding slightly and offering him a little incentive. Keep working hard, Luo-chan, she said. And when you set a new dungeon record, I will give you an additional 500,000 as a bonus. Thank you, boss. May everything go well for you, boss, he replied enthusiastically. Luo-chan whispered to himself, wondering who else could be so generous. It's amazing how things work when a wealthy woman decides to lift a single finger. Just like that, an extra 500,000 in bonuses was on the table. Luo-chan rolled his eyes at the viewers, clearly amused by their confusion. You lot really aren't as wise as our boss, he teased the audience. Meanwhile, Huang Qingchen wiped away a bit of sweat and laughed with a touch of guilt. She typed a line in the chat, claiming it was only natural they weren't as capable as her. Luo-chan, please, she added, go ahead and explain it to them. Well, since the boss had given the order, Luo-chan decided it was time to change the subject. He explained that to launch a massive counterattack and lead the 4 dynasties personally, he'd need to take most of the city's troops with him. Which, naturally, raises a very important question: who exactly would be left to defend the city? He argued that it shouldn't be the reservists who simply step in to fill the gap at the last moment. If they only start training when the crisis hits, their shooting accuracy would be abysmal and their combat experience far too thin. They would likely crumble under pressure, so wouldn't it make more sense to send them to the city walls ahead of time? He gave a helpless little shrug, explaining that they needed to perform large-scale drills right now. This is all just basic common sense, isn't it? He asked, sounding quite amused by the simplicity of it. To be honest, his logic was flawless, and he certainly knew it. Fair enough, the viewers conceded. But when exactly are you going to start this counterattack? The users felt a bit awkward being lectured and quickly tried to move the conversation along. In 2 days, he replied. Specifically, on the 5th day of the dungeon. We see Luo-chan return to his game of mahjong, casually explaining that for now, there was nothing else to do, especially after attacking those goldmine monsters and causing them to suffer such heavy losses. Once he further thins out the leaders, like the bee demons and the gluttons, the difficulty of the counterattack will be practically non-existent. He held his mahjong tiles in one hand, while comfortably sipping juice from the former mayor's private wine cabinet. He told them quite lightly that they simply needed to have a little patience. We must remember that war can be like a spreading fire, violent, sudden, and overwhelming. But there is also the slow end game, a quiet waiting period that Luo-chan was navigating with perfect calm. And then, the first wave of magical beasts began their march toward Ice Forest City, led by the Bloodthirsty King and the Blood Eagle Lord. A scout came running in a desperate hurry to report that the enemy leaders were personally heading the attack. Suddenly, Lack scooped Luo-chan up in a princess carry, whisking him away toward the battlefield for a better view. And what happened to that slow, patient pace he promised us just a moment ago? The viewers online are rolling their eyes wildly at the sudden shift, but Luo-chan has no time for idle chat. We see him raise his binoculars, carefully observing the magical beasts swarming below Ice Forest City. It wasn't just the first corps anymore. The fourth corps had also been fully mobilized for the assault. It seems the commander of the magical beast army finally realized that something was very wrong. They clearly feared that if he kept picking them off for a few more days, they wouldn't have enough strength left to fight. Sure enough, Lack frowns as she notices the fourth corps is being led by the formidable Minotaur chief. Meanwhile, the Horseface chief is leading a combined force of various magical beasts right toward them. He's a thorny, troublesome fellow, Luo-chan remarks with a slight, knowing smile. He notes that the Bullhead and Horseface troops are all aligned with the dark attribute. Coco, isn't your sacred light their natural nemesis? He asks, already knowing the answer. Leave it to me, Lack replies without wasting a single word, pulling out 3 familiar types of potions. She prepares her angelic rebirth, light of the upper realm, and evil's nemesis for the coming clash. Down they go, glug, glug, as she pours them down her throat, and her archangel sword begins to react. The blade is instantly enveloped in a shimmering layer of sacred, embroidered flames. Even her archangel wings take on an intense, brilliant golden glow that lights up the sky. Go ahead, show them the power of an angel, Luo-chan commands, immediately giving the tactical direction. The plan is simple: assassinate the Minotaur chief from the air to shatter the enemy's formation before they even arrive. Then fight and retreat, he instructs. Lure the combined Bullhead and Horseface forces toward the northern city wall. Understood. By your command, my master, Lack replies, launching herself forward to relentlessly strike at the Minotaur chief. Despite being only level 1, she surprisingly possesses a total of 110 attack points. And that is before we even account for the additional effects of those 3 primary potions. For the Minotaur chief, this represents a crushing disadvantage, though he doesn't know it yet. The viewers watching online are in unanimous agreement about one thing. Luo-chan's tactical direction is far too extreme and, frankly, a bit too violent for their tastes. Where else would you find a level 1 tamed beast acting like this? She is charging directly into a magical beast army to challenge their chief single-handedly. Luo-chan simply scoffs at the viewers' doubts. He knows they just need to wait and see. He calmly begins reciting a series of data points, having already calculated the odds in his head. He determines there is a 95% probability that the Minotaur Chief is exactly where he needs to be. The attack has a 70% chance of resulting in an instant level 1 assassination. In only 5% of scenarios does he consider that the horse-faced chief might manage to resist in time. Considering the threat of 2 boss-level beasts, he notes it is best to retreat quickly, but before he can even finish speaking, a terrifying archangel sword has already descended from the heavens like a bolt of lightning. With a cold declaration, Lack strikes like a sword of sacred judgment, shattering 10,000 demons with a single blow. The Minotaur Chief is frozen in place as the blade finds its mark. A wound opens from his skull down to his abdomen, and blood suddenly erupts from the massive gash. Okay, done. Luo Chun watches the scene, feeling very satisfied with how things are proceeding. Does anyone have any objections? He asks. He hadn't been mistaken, after all. That 70% probability held true. It was a level 1 instant assassination, exactly as he expected. But we have to wonder, how could a level 1 Crimson Flame Angel, even as a noble S-class humanoid Jade beast, kill a Minotaur Chief, famous for its thick hide and dense flesh, with a single sword strike? Everyone found it utterly unbelievable, and even Zhao, a man of great experience, was left in complete shock. Zhao Jinshun, who was watching the live stream, couldn't help himself and quickly registered a burner account. He began shouting that this was cheating, claiming it was all a bug in the system. He accused Luo Chun of using his authority to modify the data of the beginner dungeon. After all, he believes Luo Chun is just trying to win favor to revive his own Jade beast. Luo Chun simply offers a helpless smile. He shakes his head, thinking how people react whenever a genius subverts common knowledge. They immediately resort to accusations of cheating. In reality, the situation isn't that difficult to understand. He had revealed the mystery of the dungeon, yet he stood there feeling somewhat powerless against the rumors. But truly, it isn't easy for the average person to grasp. He had unraveled the dungeon's secrets, yet the doubt remained. It really isn't that complicated. He exposed the truth of the dungeon, even if the viewers weren't ready for it. The answer isn't found on the attribute panel, and to be honest, he didn't even know it was there himself. But it is quite easy to guess its origin. As the saying goes, sometimes the easy path is the most delicious. He decides to challenge his online friends to guess what is happening on this demonic beast engineering battlefield. Luo Chun remains calm and composed. How is it that this level 1 experimental angel is dominating with a hidden skill? Where did that sacred sword of judgment come from? He announces that any viewer who guesses correctly will receive a prize. The reward is a Liao Yuan powder agent worth 50,000 Longbi, generously provided by Fun Yuan Yao Yi. Our CEO, Luo Chun, even remembers to promote the products of the Lian Yu Fun Wan family in the middle of all this. President Wan Kim Chun, a true beauty with a delicate face, is absolutely delighted by the gesture. Meanwhile, her best friend in Zeline sends a message filled with playful disgust, how typical of him. She wonders how she ended up with such a family genius, especially one who manages to turn a live stream into a top-tier event. It really is quite clever. He's killing 3 birds with 1 stone, pleasing the audience, promoting the company, and, well, using the moment to flatter his own distant and elegant president. We see Wan Kim Chun, with her long, slender legs, watching the screen with focused intensity. She asks herself if she truly despises him to such an extreme, or if there's something more. But she knows that even if she used all her charms, she might not be able to conquer a man like him. She looks at that angelic beast, and to be honest, the way she stares at it reveals far more than she intends. And Zeline continues to mock the situation, boasting about her own 25% family bloodline. She reminds herself that she is the first human in history to have practiced enchantment up to level 15. As Wan Kim Chun watches, the online friends in the live stream chat are becoming restless. They are all participating actively now, throwing out their best theories about the battle. After all, a prize worth 50,000 Longbi is a very tempting reward for a simple guess. One viewer suggests he must have broken the beginner dungeon record just to trigger such a hidden reward. Another claims this is an awakening skill, born from the heat of battle when he faced a powerful enemy and reached enlightenment. One fan even believes the angel has the aura of a chosen one, destined to exterminate all enemies and rule the beast planet. Clearly, this is a viewer who has spent a bit too much time reading fantasy novels, not that we can blame them. Finally, Wan Kim Chun writes a comment of her own. It must be because the beast retained all its memories after resurrection. This would explain why it can still display the formidable combat skills from its previous life. Luo Chun immediately takes a screenshot of the comment. He notes that this particular viewer is truly clever and witty, having figured it out almost instantly. In an instant, this viewer has become the man of the hour, and the platform will soon distribute the rewards. He wonders how it's possible for the official Dowson broadcast account to be suggesting there was any manipulation. It seems you two share a rather interesting tradition, don't you? As comments flood the screen, Wan Kim Chun responds with an air of casual indifference. She suggests that, as a reward, the prize should be given away to the viewers at random. She decides to offer a massive bonus, opening up 10 spots for a special draw. All the prizes will be on her tab, a gesture that causes the chat to explode with excitement. The screen immediately turns into a solid wall of white text from the sheer volume of messages. They praise her as a young lady with a truly kind heart, which is one way to put it. Our viewers can be such rascals sometimes, can't they? It's almost charming. Luo Chen can't help but smile, telling himself it's really not that big of a deal. To be honest, it doesn't surprise him at all that President Won Kim-chun could guess the answer. He reminds the audience not to forget that she hails from the prestigious Jade Phoenix family. Their Jade Phoenix beasts can unleash 2 lethal forbidden spells, Supernova and Red Autumn Hell, even at level 1. And just like that, everyone has a sudden realization and feels that the explanation is perfectly reasonable. At that moment, with a heavy thud, the phone of a Phoenix family leader is replaced by a Minotaur boss. It is thrown right at Luo Chen's feet, looking quite bright and, strangely enough, rather slippery. It was the skull of another horse-faced boss monster. It, too, rolled across the ground until it came to a stop right in front of Luo Chen. Luo Chen stood there, utterly stunned, as he looked up at Lax's archangel wings. She descended from the sky bathed in pure, holy light. Even as stellar red blood rained down. The crimson droplets splashed everywhere, some even sliding slowly down her delicate face. Struck by this strange, enchanting, and sacred beauty, Luo Chen gives her a thumbs up and exclaims in awe. He tells her that someone should really paint this scene and share it with the world. There truly is a haunting, almost manic beauty to the sight, if you're into that sort of thing. He compares her to a flower blooming in the dawn amidst the filth, causing Lax's cheeks to flush a deep red. She tells him he's talking nonsense again, noting she has simply completed the mission and brought the 2 beast leaders' heads. Their remaining troops are currently scattering in every direction like frightened birds. She asks if they should pursue them, but after a brief moment of hesitation, Luo Chen shakes his head. Even though they've wiped out the Wind Wolves of Nest 3, the Ghost Panther Queen, and the 2 bosses of Nest 4, there are still Beast Kings lurking within Nests 1 and 2. He reasons that if they attack too hastily, it will be difficult for mere humans to win a full-scale pitched battle. Lax decides she will head back to rest and replenish the mana she has expended. Showing a hint of exhaustion, she unscrews a Phoenix-branded bottle and takes small sips of a mana potion. Luo Chen smiles, mentioning how she just used her holy sword of judgment to break through 10,000 enemies with a single strike. He notes that it was his signature technique in the past, and it was quite impressive, wasn't it? Lax crosses her arms and admits, with a touch of regret, that she can only maintain it briefly with the help of 3 potions. But strangely enough, that skill doesn't even appear on her attribute panel. Luo Chen was naturally curious and asked her how she suddenly thought of unleashing such a move. She gave a playful little laugh, reminding him that she is, after all, a powerful soul reborn into this story. It was only natural that she would want to test the overwhelming power she wielded in her previous life. With a graceful motion, the archangel shook out her long, golden hair. She wiped the bloodstains from her white silk stockings and crossed her arms with a confident look. She teased him, saying he didn't expect her to be this strong, and told him to keep playing games while she handles the monsters. Luo Chen simply gave her a thumbs up, smiling from ear to ear at his good fortune. To be honest, he realized he would have to completely re-evaluate Lax's hidden potential. He couldn't help but praise her, noting that her attack was truly terrifying. He remarked that once she returns to level 100, she will surely achieve a magnificent super evolution. He wondered if she might even break through the SSS rank bottleneck and join the ranks of the divine beasts. Lax smiled softly, noting that becoming a divine beast is a goal that might take decades to reach. However, she believes that upon reaching level 20, she should evolve from S rank to SS rank, marking a true transformation. Meanwhile, we see the live stream chat filling up with the sound of thousands of viewers gasping in shock. The sound of shattering porcelain echoed through Zhao Jinshan's presidential suite as tempers flared. And at this moment, the person feeling the most humiliated is, without a doubt, Zhao Tianqi. Countless viewers, who had grown tired of his arrogance long ago, finally saw their chance. They flooded his stream to mock him, reminding him how he bragged about his S rank, which just yesterday. They laughed at how he called Luo Chen short-sighted for choosing money, asking him how he feels about the situation now. The people's S-rank Judgment Angel is already on the verge of ascending to SS rank, so what do you have to say for yourself now? For a humanoid angelic beast with SS rank potential, giving up a trashy witch who loves the rich and bullies the weak is hardly a sacrifice. Was it really a loss? Zhao Tianqi was first stunned and then became extremely agitated. Finally, he exploded in a fit of embarrassed rage, shouting at the viewers, asking why a pack of rabid dogs like them even cared. He insisted Luo Chen was just bluffing, refusing to believe that at level 1, she could have any certainty of ascending to SS rank. But the netizens didn't back down for a second and began questioning the immortal witch directly. They mocked Miss Alice, reminding her that Luo Chen, whom she looked down on, was now earning over 20 million in rewards every single day. His tamed beast wants the angel to revive, like a refreshing drink, and yet, what about your own choices? Just imagine, if you hadn't been a deserter. That golden opportunity to be cultivated to the SS rank would likely have been yours. On the 31st page of our story, we see that as a genius of her era, the immortal, which is quite proud. Naturally, she feels a sting of regret that a mere experimental angel with mediocre talent actually surpassed her and reached the SS rank threshold first. While this could have easily infuriated her, Alice instead revealed a charming, sympathetic smile. She gave a few comforting pats to her master, who seemed almost to enjoy being mistreated. She claimed this was all part of Luo Chen's scheme to sow discord. She argued he sent fans like rabid dogs to deliberately provoke them and weaken their soul bond. Zhao Tianqi hesitated, but even so, he was still consumed by a quiet, simmering fury. He couldn't contain the jealousy and resentment burning in his chest and finally asked the fatal question. He asked if she truly didn't regret it, while in the witch's heart, a fire raged, furious that she hadn't stayed with Luo Chen from the start. She was also deeply annoyed with her current master for being so incredibly childish and jealous. But she feigned weakness instead, projecting a sense of helpless fragility. Biting her lip, she whispered, "Yes, master." She asked him if, even now, he still hadn't discovered the true vileness of Luo Chen. She claimed that both of them were victims, leaving Zhao Tianqi completely stunned. Alice huffed, seemingly confused by the response of her eager master. She argued that Luo Chen decided from the start to auction her off just to get money and materials to revive his true love. In her narrative, she was always destined to be his sacrifice. She reminded him that he had already seen the registration on the auction website account, and in the process, he had accidentally become a fool ripe for blackmail. Yes, that was it, or so he told himself as Zhao Tianqi grit his teeth and clutched his robes. He swore he would get Luo Chen's soul, declaring them irreconcilable enemies. He looked deeply into the eyes of the immortal witch, Alice. He assured her that since they were both suffering the same fate, she could rest easy. He asked if advancing to SS rank was really so special, claiming the Zhao family had also mastered a path to that realm. In his name as a beast tamer, he vowed that he would definitely cultivate her until she reached the SS rank. He promised she wouldn't be inferior to that other creature, which was a bold claim, to say the least. Alice then actively threw herself into Zhao Tianqi's arms. In the darkness where no one could see, the corners of her lips curled into a strange, inexplicable smile. It seemed Zhao Tianqi and his witch were slandering Luo Chen, claiming he only ever wanted to flip her for a profit. Luo Chen soon learned from the netizens in the comments about everything that had transpired in Zhao Tianqi's livestream. It surprises no one, really. If the witch had actually been willing to follow me, how could I have possibly sold her for a mere 120 million? Addressing his audience, he noted how they had witnessed his rise from 0 followers to the current 21 million. With those subscribers, he had already earned 150 million yuan from President Huang Qingsheng. She shook her head, wondering if she was truly only worth 120 million. The real reason he put the witch on the auction platform was simply because she was arrogant and unfaithful. He had to sell her quickly to cut his losses before it was too late. Luo Chen rolled his eyes. She was trying to twist the facts and pose as an innocent white lotus. She was daydreaming, of course, as the recording of the Zhaoan ceremony was still hosted on several video sites. Did everyone remember the original words of that manipulative woman? The netizens immediately began to flood the screen with comments. At the 9-minute and 17-second mark of the Zhaoan ceremony, the witch's exact words were, "Master, I think you should reconsider the offer from Mr. Zhao Jinchen. How disgusting, we see, to manipulate statements in such a way." Inverting good and evil, she was attempting to claim the status of a betrayed victim. Shameless to the extreme, Luo Chen remained implacable, and that was that. The past is like smoke, he thought, hoping things would go well for her. And as for him, for the time being, he hadn't yet experienced a true fight with them. Moving forward, she seemed to be filled with a new kind of energy. With the fierce and enthusiastic Grey Springs, the massive fan counterattack was about to begin. He offered a small teaser. Just tomorrow, as the red sun rises, he would unleash his full power. Against the monsters besieging the city, he planned to launch a desperate counterattack to eliminate them from the city of Hinchuan. We see the faces of over 30 million live viewers change drastically at the news. A wave of curiosity followed, naturally, especially among the viewers from the Dragon Kingdom. Essentially, they had all studied the same history. The nation is broken, yet the mountains and rivers remain. They knew the monster invasion dungeon well, because this was the 9th year of the conflict. It had become one of the mandatory courses in their basic education system. In fact, it was the core content of the compulsory monster studies curriculum. And yet, every bit of that content focused solely on how to defend oneself. No one had ever even considered how to fight back in a true counteroffensive. With the teaser finished, he ended the stream, promising to return when the great counterattack began. Luo Chen was safe for now, but he certainly knew how to create a sense of suspense. Deliberately leaving them in intrigue, he simply cut the transmission and walked away. His fans were left scratching their heads in anxiety, though they could only leave messages of encouragement. They wished him luck in the coming battle, urging Luo Chen not to lose his momentum. Poor Xiaoqinzi. During this long night of waiting, many people found themselves being tortured by worry. Zhao Jinchen tossed and turned in his sleep, eventually falling into a deep nightmare. He saw Luo Chun carrying Luo Kiki, leveling up wildly and effortlessly the entire way, breaking through to SS rank at level 20 and ascending even further by level 40. By level 60, he was shattering his very genetic shackles, a terrifying prospect, to be sure. He saw him pierce through the mysteries of the platform and complete a total super evolution, ascending into a divine beast, a red angel with 12 magnificent wings. In that nightmare, Luo Kiki washed his entire mansion in blood, using an ultimate sword skill, the Sacred Blade, killing without pause. With a sharp gasp, Zhao Jinshan woke up, startled out of his sleep. He jumped out of bed and looked in the mirror. His forehead was covered in cold sweat the size of soybeans. With a distorted face and veins bulging, he told himself that Luo Chen simply cannot be allowed to grow. Otherwise, he knew he would be completely destroyed. Zhao Jinshan lights a cigarette with a fierce expression, while beside him, Director Xiaofeng of Dijin University is also wandering through his own nightmares. In his dream, at the school board meeting, a pair of piercing eyes stare him down, acting as the judges of Dijin University. He finds himself in a hellish interrogation. Xiaofeng, acting on his own, had accepted Zhao Jinshan's bribe. Just because a building was donated, he denied entry to Luo Chun, a truly gifted genius. The facts are beyond doubt. Luo Chun, holding his academic position at the Beast Resurrection School, has at least a 20% chance of reaching a divine beast by level 100. Luo Chun is, without a single doubt, the superstar of this entire generation. He is considered a genius who will define an era, and yet our Dijin University has rejected him. And to make matters worse, they transferred his spot to a complete nobody. A century-old school has become a laughingstock, now considered the shame of the Dragon Kingdom. You, Xiaofeng, are the one to blame, and you are hereby expelled from the school. By proposal of the school board, he was to be expelled from the society of the Dragon Kingdom. Director Xiaofeng also woke up with a pale face, muttering to himself in the dark. He realized, with some bitterness, that he had been utterly deceived by Zhao Jinshan. He had boarded a ship of thieves, and now, he found he couldn't get off. No, he told himself, he had to take action as soon as possible. He felt he had to strangle this threat. The boy could not be allowed to grow unchecked. There was no other way if he wanted to remain a great academic expert. Chapter 32, The Great Counteroffensive. As Yinqing finally leaps into action, we see that in Luo Chen's live stream on the Dushen platform, the numbers have reached 32 million. A truly terrifying number of viewers is currently lurking in the chat. Normally, a guide for a rookie dungeon wouldn't attract such a crowd, but a certain rumor changed everything. Under Huang Qingqing's deliberate hype, the news began to spread like wildfire. The rumor claimed that if Luo Chun completes this counteroffensive, his total score will exceed 1,000. Could an artifact reward, a god-level skill, or a divine beast egg be about to be born? Divine realm, divine beast, the words everyone was waiting for. In this era of national beast taming, those three keywords have finally been awakened. Furthermore, though the country is torn, the mountains and rivers remain standing. We recall the invasion of the demonic beasts of Chun that lasted for 23 years. The breaking of a dungeon record is, in itself, a massive piece of news for the public. All of this has brought Luo Chun a truly enormous and terrifying amount of traffic. Open sesame. Under a relentless bombardment of countless comments, Luo Chun finally began his broadcast. The first thing that caught our eye was the city of Hinchuan. We see dense formations of infantry stretching out across the landscape. Luo Chun had actually managed to gather all of the veterans together. He had them pack their bags, carry their dry rations, and assemble beneath the city walls. I am here to fulfill my promise, he declared, having donned a camouflage military uniform while waving his arms. Waving his arms with great enthusiasm, he announced that for this counterattack to succeed, they would have to seize the very lair of the demonic beasts. The goal was to rescue every single human refugee trapped inside. He claimed he was about to perform a hymn to the great unity of mankind, abandoning no one and rescuing every single victim along the way. His expression was solemn as he insisted that even the unconsumed remains in those dens must be recovered. He stated they could not allow their compatriots' bodies to lie exposed in the wilderness. After all, the greatest difference between us and those mad beasts is the dignity of being born human. Luo Chen's somber speech didn't particularly move the viewers in the livestream chat. They weren't interested in his grand words, but to be fair, no one was looking to cause trouble either. After all, everyone understood exactly what he was trying to do. He was simply motivating the NPCs, as this was, after all, a patriotic education dungeon. In this world, one must ensure that their actions do not violate the core values of the scenario. The main theme of the dungeon had to be followed if he hoped to pass it smoothly. This is considered standard knowledge in the dungeon guide. Basic stuff, really. And indeed, the system confirms it. His speech is proving to be quite inspiring. The morale and attack power of the NPC army in the dungeon increase by 5%. Luo Chun then leads them to believe that the corrupt former mayor was personally eliminated by him. He claims the man was hired by an evil human organization and was utterly wicked. In fact, he labels him as the primary culprit behind the tragic fall of Hinchuan City. Next, he announces he will scourge the corrupt officials and offer them as a sacrifice for the great counteroffensive. With a roar, he orders the corpse of the Hinchuan city mayor to be brought forward. The body is already crawling with maggots, yet it is still hung up there for all to see. As the speech rouses them, the NPC's breathing quickens, and they all stare at the former mayor with pure, unadulterated fury. Without saying another word, Luo Chun walks over to a heavy machine gun and tilts the barrel up slightly. He pulls the trigger, and a violent spray of bullets begins to tear into the former mayor's corpse. It is shredded instantly, with flesh and blood splattering across the wall in a grim display. Cheers erupt as the NPCs become more excited than ever, and the system chimes in once more. His judgment is deemed inspiring, raising the NPC army's morale and attack power by 10%. Even their defense increases by 10%. Not a bad day's work, all things considered. Luo Chun permits himself a small smile and begins issuing orders to the civil officials. Suddenly, all of the former mayor's private collections are brought out into the light. A hoard of beast soul stones is put on display right in front of the gathered crowd. These so-called beast soul stones are the common currency of this pre-sale planet. They are, in fact, far more valuable than the US dollar or even the long currency. This is because they allow for trade with the pre-sellers and the purchase of supplies in many dungeons. Without a moment's hesitation, Luo Chun announces that they are already triumphant. The cry goes out, fight until death. They must fight until the very end. Fight until death. Fight until death. Fight until death. Roars that shake the very heavens and the earth rise up in a single, unified shout. Among these brothers in arms, tragic and noble chants begin to echo from the city walls. And here, a system notification appears. His motivation has truly shaken the heart of the army. The morale of the NPC troops within this instance is soaring. It has reached its absolute limit, increasing the killing power of all NPCs by 25%. Their defense is also bolstered by 25%. Even their health points have increased by 25%. Driven by this high spirit, all NPCs activate the hidden skill, Desperate Battle. The fighting spirit of these Dragon Kingdom soldiers burns as hot and unyielding as iron. They are about to deploy the most powerful light infantry Blue Star has ever seen. With grand ambition, they are prepared to fight down to the very last man. Until death, they will not surrender. Luo Chun waves his hand, his expression solemn, and orders the city gates opened. The counterattack begins as the Xianji assault bugle sounds across the battlefield. 10,000 veterans and over 5,000 reservists swarm out, following the Crimson Angel. With their AKs ready, they charge at full speed toward the first wave of the beast tide. We see that the city of Hinchuan is currently lacking in armored vehicles. They have no heavy combat tanks either, but by Luo Chen's orders, since the very first day, they have been secretly transforming delivery trucks and buses into light combat vehicles. These are meant to break through the beasts and to serve as cover once they catch fire and become unusable. As clouds of dust roll across the plains, Luo Chen's troops have already embarked on their expedition. Those watching the gates find the sight extraordinary and cannot help but admire Luo Chen's grand vision. What a massive sum of beast soul stones he has. Luo Chun is truly willing to give them all up to reward his army. Someone laments that, if it were them, they would absolutely not be willing to do the same. After all, once the instance finally comes to an end, those beast soul stones can actually be brought back into reality. They are part of the instance reward, but as the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Luo Chun is betting everything, truly wanting to exceed the 900-point limit to obtain the extra hidden point rewards. It is rumored that among the hidden items redeemable for 1,000 points, there are powerful artifacts. Artifacts and divine beast eggs. The chance for divine artifacts is 0, but regular artifacts and divine beasts? Well, perhaps there is a 0.1% chance, to be perfectly honest. But let us stop discussing the rewards for a moment. First, we should talk about Luo Chen's actual win rate. Do they really believe this great reversal can succeed? This comment quickly attracts everyone's attention due to the speaker's specific ID. It turns out to be Curse, and the comment section immediately becomes a sea of spam, offering him respect and failure. Old Curse. When will I finally become your personal disciple? Someone asks eagerly. Please, just give me a small gift to mark my acceptance. I'm not being greedy, really. Just an SSS level pre-sale elastic would do. We see that every region of magical beasts is completely different from the last. I honestly have no idea about these magical beasts from your Dragon Kingdom, Curse admits. Stop flattering me, he replies. I'm declaring once again that I am not taking on any apprentices. Unless, of course, it were Luo Chun or Huang Qinchen, the CEO of Dowson Life. He wonders if he would even dare to appear and personally receive the legendary Old Curse. Victory is assured. Please, Mr. Curse, just watch closely, comes the confident reply. And so we enter Chapter 33, where the hidden aces begin to emerge with surprising frequency. A horizontal sweep meets with mockery. Oh, it's the Hell Phoenix girl. What exactly is your relationship with Luo Chun? Curse asks playfully, sounding a bit like a gossiping housewife. It couldn't be. Huang Qinchen finds himself momentarily speechless at the suggestion. He tells himself that the man clearly has no respect for his elders, but he's too lazy to refute this random matchmaking. He simply offers a slight smile and says, I am his boss. He is contracted to my platform. Oh, in that case, can you upgrade my account to Distinguished VIP? Curse asks, though he has already tried to do so himself. The last time he recharged $10 million just to reward Luo Chun. His account immediately skyrocketed to the highest possible level on the entire platform. Huang Qinshan carefully attends to this man, who is a top-tier expert among beast tamers. Is that so? Curse asked, sounding rather doubtful about the whole thing. My account level is only Emperor. Honestly, I've killed more beast emperors than I have hairs on my body. He even claimed to have killed a few emperors from the smaller nations of the human race. But the Emperor of the Unified Dragon Kingdom is the supreme 9th and 5th rank. It's a completely different concept from those emperors sold at wholesale in small European countries. After all, they have Commander Anton. It's simply a fundamental difference between civilizations. Returning to the main point, after Curse made his call, he asked with genuine confusion how he had determined it. He believed that Luo Chen's grand counteroffensive actually had a chance to win. Perhaps it would be better to postpone it for 2 days, he suggested. He felt they could easily wait until after they had hunted a few more Beast Kings. Launch a grand counteroffensive? Huang Qinshan smiled, prioritizing quality before the crossing. He said with absolute certainty that, since he's known Luo Chun, the man has always been incredibly methodical. He always plans before acting and never sits at the table unless he is entirely sure of himself. And now, he has deployed 10,000 veterans and 5,000 elite soldiers. He bet all his resources, which obviously means Luo Chun must have complete confidence. To play all his cards like this, he simply said, I believe in him. Curse let out a long whistle, sounding for all the world like a mischievous old rogue. This is the sour stench of love. This old man can't stand it. Girl, you'd better be careful. A man as brilliant as Luo Chun will definitely have many rotten peach blossoms fluttering around him. Who has a solution for that? He couldn't help but join the crowd, shouting, marry him, marry him. Madam President, you spend all day in Luo Chen's live stream and don't seem to care about your other duties at all. It's all very suspicious. They say the women of the Phoenix family are incredibly beautiful, and that there will even be phoenix eggs in the dowry. Luo Chun is certainly lucky, but Huang Qinshan is not one to be trifled with. She frowned deeply and called out to the elder. She asked him please not to make fun of others, but Curse suddenly put on a very serious face. No, he insisted. You carry the Phoenix lineage, and he is very special. Do you understand what that means? The old man gave this warning with total gravity. There on the planet Jadavist, we learned that the Phoenix lineage actually stems from the forces of the demon god, one of the 72 primary demon gods. It occupies the second rank on the right. That is its true origin. Huang Qinshan was visibly shocked to hear that her lineage originated from a god. The very purpose of your bloodline is to serve the supreme demon god. Curse laughed then, calling her a divine servant, which, naturally, didn't sit well with her. Following the path of heaven is an instinct written directly into your DNA. Huang Qinshan scoffed at the idea, noting that the people of Lan simply do not believe in gods. She asked if they were idiots to believe that kings and nobles were merely born to command. Even if my ancestors were servants to the gods, she argued, what does that matter now? She was certain that she and Zizu would forge their own path regardless of destiny. Very well, I was being shallow, Curse admitted, taking a long swig of liquor and laughing as he offered his congratulations. He wished them a quick marriage, leaving Huang Qinshan to simply rub her lower back in exasperation. She was already growing a bit annoyed, perhaps too tired to keep humoring the old man, but Curse then spoke with a sudden, meaningful weight. Now I see why you and Luo Chun are drawn to one another, he remarked. It turns out they were kindred spirits, travelers on the very same path. They would have to support each other to go further side by side, of course. In his experience as an elder, there was only a small measure of desperation to be found. But the real challenge, he suggested, was for them to engage in those little romantic follies while leaning on one another. By supporting each other, they would inevitably end up in bed together, which, naturally, was his ultimate point. He made a face, and immediately, the live stream chat erupted in laughter, filled with a sudden, light-hearted energy. Meanwhile, as we look back at Huang Qinshan and Luo Chen's counterattack expeditionary army, they had already been spotted by the scouts of Magic Beast Nest No. 1, specifically the Howling Tiger King and the Blood Eagle Lord. They immediately led their combined army of mixed magical beasts, including howling tigers with twin wings sprouting from their backs. Positioned firmly within the central army, these beasts could glide at low altitudes, serving as a makeshift air force when needed. Nearby, the Blood Eagle warriors circled the expeditionary army with malicious grins, diving up and down through the air. They possessed arms to wield heavy battle spears, remaining poised to strike from the heights at any given moment. This posed a grave threat to the expeditionary army, while down on the densely packed ground. We see a mixed army of minotaurs and centaurs that far exceeded anyone's expectations. These bullmen and horsemen formed the bulk of the force, carrying massive underworld totems on their shoulders and clad in full adamantine armor. They served as living shields against arrows, while the horsemen wielded powerful maces carved from the bones of great beasts. Acting as the primary ranged firepower, they were a terrifying sight for those watching the live stream of Magic Beast Nest number 1. After witnessing Chao Su's formidable and high-ranking lineup, the audience fell into a stunned, heavy silence. Only Luo Chun let out a long breath, his face finally softening with a clear expression of relief. Deep down, he knew his judgment was sound. The time to launch a counterattack was right now. If he had waited even a few more days, the forces of the 4 academic dynasties would likely have unified completely. And if they were allowed to gather in one place, things would have become very problematic indeed. With a satisfied smile, he began issuing military orders to everyone under his command. Every modified vehicle came to a halt, positioning themselves horizontally to form a solid line of defensive obstacles. We see them shift from attack to defense, their morale peaking as they unleashed a truly terrifying level of combat power. The coalition of beasts was, by all appearances, a nightmare-inducing force of magical nature. Yet, facing the human expeditionary army, they found themselves being pushed back and defeated time and again. In the middle of this fierce battle, Luo Chen didn't forget his audience, taking a moment to explain his reasoning to the stream. He noted that someone had donated 2,000 yuan just to ask why he couldn't wait a few more days to strike. It seemed like a fair question. After all, he had already eliminated several threats. Nests number 3 and 4 were already firmly in Chao Shui's hands. So, why not simply defend the city while slowly picking off nests number 1 and 2? With those nests secured, couldn't they have launched a steady, massive counterattack led by the magical beasts? As it turns out, this was also the official opinion held by Lord Zeus himself. Luo Chen simply smiled and asked if they were truly certain about the masterminds behind the Hinshuan city invasion. What if the true masters aren't actually the beast kings of the 4 academic dynasties? The audience was left speechless, as Luo Chen had just challenged the one thing everyone had agreed upon since the fall of the mountains. It was a consensus that had stood firm since the very birth of the magical beast invasion dungeons. So what exactly is going on? He sighed quietly, explaining that the reason previous strategies were aimed at these beast kings was simply because no one had ever managed to push this dungeon into its second stage. Why would he say such a thing? This one casual remark from Luo Chun was enough to silence everyone. 1.